Hello, this episode was recorded on the 13th of September before we did LARP number 6. I've thrown it together because a few people expressed interest in seeing it, and because it is a time capsule of our mid-project state of mind. You can see some ideas we presented in our videos in a primordial state here. However, it is entirely about Starfield. I don't know how you wouldn't see that coming, but I'm sure at least one person would have taken 3 hours to figure out that this is just a 4-hour rant session. Alrighty, welcome to impromptu LARP number 27. I don't know if it's going to be LARP, but we're doing another support group session.
Oh, I needed it. You saw what I was sending you last night. I was basically having a mental breakdown. I was trying to do the exploration and stuff. Just trying to play the game as I assume the developers intended, and it was such a miserable experience that I just started questioning a lot of things.
Yeah, and to emphasize, I finished, I think 3 days ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I wrapped up. You never wrapped up, so.
Yeah, I'm still going. Over 100 hours in, and I'm still going. I still have 3 of the major quest lines. I don't know if I'm gonna do the major quest lines or not. Like, I might
See,
just do.
that's the interesting part, is that you still have those left to do.
Yeah, I still have to do the UC, the Freestar Collective, and Ryoji or whatever that one is.
And
Yeah,
House Varun.
there's actually something for House Varun.
No, the totally not cut quest line for House Varun. I mean, they like, Emil has a tattoo of House Varun, and they really emphasize them in the marketing.
Yeah,
just for them to be,
not present.
2 quests question mark at that, if that.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not counting the main quest where you talk to a House Varun zealot for 2 minutes as qualifying.
You know what's weird too is like so House of Varun has some fancy weapons and stuff that seems to be implied that they have like Starborn connections. And I got like one of their shotguns or something. I was running around using it and nobody was commenting on that. But everybody would comment on my ship.
Well,
And it's
I think the House Varun Starborn connection. We're jumping straight into spoilers, but I don't care.
yeah.
The connections between them is like intentional, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're supposed to think for a fraction of a second that House Varun has something to do with the main story.
Yeah. Outside of the coordinates they give you to get to the Pilgrim's path.
Yeah,
Which,
no, and Andrea's participation in Constellation.
yeah.
Which, I mean, as much as I like her, let's be
Did you
real.
do
She's
did you do
not. She
her
doesn't contribute.
did you do her companion's quest? No, she doesn't. Did you do
Yes.
her companion quest?
Yes.
Does it like expand on her connections with House Varun?
A bit. It explains the role that she had in the house.
Okay.
Like the context of like how she was a smuggler and she was kind of a spy. Her assignment was to spy on Constellation.
Ah, okay.
And then like you meet, so like they have like a dead drop contact system, so that she doesn't know where House Varun space is, but she knows the guy who does know. But he doesn't interact with anything. So like
So
there's
the
checks
dead
and
end.
balance to keep them separate.
Yeah. So it's like the Shadow Broker, basically. Oh my god. Another god damn,
Another
man.
Mass Effect reference. Yeah, Emil's a big fan. Well, I want to talk about the first kind of layer of insanity in the game, and that's like the temple grind. And you know there's going to be a lot of Starfield comments like, well, you don't have to do that many. And it's like, it's not a very clear system.
Yeah.
And I am convinced that it was broken.
Yeah, I'm almost positive what's also broken about it is the temples themselves. I was really trying to. I think I must have done about well over 100 temples easily.
If the counter is correct, I'm at like in the 70s range. But of course,
Yeah.
I told you that like I was actually checking it each time I would do a temple, and there were some that it wouldn't update. So who knows how many temples I actually did.
Yeah. I'm almost positive that the like act of going into the temples and like activating the like motes of light, whatever the fuck you want to call them. I'm pretty sure that was bugged. I had a lot of bugs with the temples,
I had
and
one where the gravity didn't turn off until I was like walking around the middle area. There was that one. There was the companions that would frequently get stuck in the walls.
yeah,
Like the only area where companions have pathing issues in the zero G mode is the area that's
this is
actually like most common in the game,
yeah,
which is kind of hilarious because I was playing the zero G stuff with the console commands, and the AI is pretty robust at maneuvering in 3 dimensions. They can even take cover in 3D.
that's. I think it's fascinating that I just had my first um, zero G encounter outside of like main quest stuff, like in a ship as they were advertising it last night after 100 hours in the game, and it was very brief.
Oh, they're all very brief. You have to go out of your way to engineer more playtime for it, which is ironic because there's
It
entire
was
perks that are dedicated to like
yeah,
augmenting your stability when using
yeah,
ballistic weapons in space combat
yeah.
sequences.
You have the like the spacer effect on legendary weapons, and every time I'd see that, I'd be like, well, I'm X amount of hours in, and I'm always fighting on planets, so why the fuck am I gonna use
Yeah,
this? It's literally it's like plus
it's
15%
effectively only a
damage.
downside.
Yeah, it's like plus 15% damage in space and then minus 15% damage.
No,
If it was
it's
at
30% damage in space.
yeah, if it was just like plus 15%, plus 30% in space, and there was no downside to using it on ground, I'd be like, okay, that's no big deal. But the fact that this is the negative,
We'll see.
which makes it even funnier that you have the traits then
You're
too, right?
supposed to equip very low power A tier weapons on your ship and do piracy where you knock out their grav drive and their engines.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you'll encounter more very small, very short sequences where you fight 3 people, but that's how you're supposed to do it. Okay.
Which is dumb because like
Well, I've
it
already written in
it
my
was
script what the
it
problem
was
is.
actually fun. I got in there. I had a really powerful shotgun. Oh, you ran out of
Power's out.
power?
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna be doing it like this, I guess.
Oh well.
Um,
It'll come back when
but
the sun comes around.
when the sun comes up, oh, okay. Uh, yeah, no, like I had like my whole loadout was a bunch of shotguns, and instantly I was like, oh, this is gonna be a problem because I fire 2 rounds, and I'm getting thrown across the room,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was having fun. I was like, this is really cool. Why isn't this more heavily featured in the
It's a
game?
crazy switch up in the balance systems for
Yeah.
sure.
But I feel like a
But
lot of the systems that I compliment in this game that I enjoy, it always comes with some sort of downside.
yeah,
There's always something there to just really knock it down.
there's the expression that was said on one of my streams that there's not a component of Fallout 4 that you can talk about that doesn't come with like a huge
Caveat.
caveat that you need to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah. And I feel like Starfield's even worse in that regard, honestly. And it's never even just like a straightforward like, oh yeah, it's good, but they just need to make a couple tweaks here and there. It's like no, we have to go like 3 systems deep to then start to explain why something's fucked up. And that's what's making this like video so daunting for me is that it's turning into another Fallout 76 where I'm like, holy crap, in order to explain this,
Yeah,
I need to go like two or
it
three
gets deep.
systems. Yeah. And and then I also need to explain like how other games have at least like Fallout 76. It was relative. It was mostly just like comparing it to other Bethesda games or other Fallout games is within its wheelhouse. But with this, it's like, no, now I have to explain how like No Man's Sky did something. I have to explain how Elite Dangerous did something. And it's just like, fuck me. And so I get why none of the reviews I've seen of Starfield so far have been like at all adequate. Because it's just like
So I've
in
got a central theory that's going to be the thesis of my video, which is why this is not going to come out for some time.
Mm-hmm.
The main problem that Starfield has is that there's no design document.
Yeah. Oh, it shows. It really does show.
And it really cannot be understated how systemic of a problem that is for this game.
Yeah. When it's that, and there's also that quote. I mean, it leaded off of this is that Todd Howard quote of they didn't find how to make the game fun until a year before the game came out.
Which is not surprising. And so
No,
what I have in my script is like, you can't, the quest designers cannot include mechanics that they don't know are going to exist.
yeah.
And I think that that was the role that Zero Gravity Combat had, was just
Oh,
the quest designers of all of the quest lines, because none of the quest lines have a big quest that's about fighting in Zero G. Like, you would expect the
yeah.
Crimson Fleet quest line,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
to have like at least one quest that's an entire area centered around Zero G. But like, there's abandoned space stations that still have artificial gravity.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense until you realize that like none of the level designers were confident that the system might exist. So
Yeah.
you're not going to go out on a limb and design a crazy dungeon that is for a system that might not even make it. You're not
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
design a central like pillar quest around mechanics that maybe get implemented. I think the Vanguard questline's the same, where you spend very little time in the Vanguard questline doing the Vanguard thing of being a privateer.
Nice.
So, or like the Crimson Fleet questline, where all of the piracy you do is in Radiant missions.
Yeah.
So, the main reason for that is simply, I don't think the designers were confident that those mechanical systems were going to exist, because there's no design document to say this is how it's going to be, you know. And
Yeah.
design documents aren't perfect. There are
Yeah,
flaws with that
they
kind of
wouldn't it's
methodology, but
yeah, it's not necessarily like a Bible. They might have even said like early on, we want to have zero gravity, but everybody might have been privy to the fact that it wasn't working well and that it was always on the chopping block or something.
yeah.
So they were just like, well, I can't design a quest around this. I can't design. Imagine a dungeon, right? With all of like the loot and stuff that the player will want to acquire. And then you remove gravity from the equation. And it's like, how does a player even loot a dungeon then? So you would have to design dungeons or at least the ones that are going to be affected by zero gravity, to accommodate that. So it's like, it's not just about, there's so many elements to it when you just do something as simple as we're going to remove gravity from it. And this is why the designers need to know this stuff. Because when you're designing dungeons that are going to take, months to make for a whole quest line, you can't retroactively go back when they add in zero G like zero G combat, and be like, okay, I'm just gonna make a few changes here and there. It's like, no, you have to basically fundamentally redesign all those dungeons and all those spaces.
I
So
find Zero G combat to really be like definitive for everything that's in the game.
yeah,
Because if there's no confidence, if there's no central design document, that means there's no confidence in anything. And
yeah,
so it leads to this complete lack of cohesion between anything. So like
which
my
it shows like
oh,
down
absolutely.
to the soundtrack. Like we were
Yes.
joking about about
Yeah, we
fucking
had the
what's his
leak of the
face.
soundtrack and we were like listening to it, and we were both scoring it, right? Like
Yeah,
giving it stars ratings. And the main one was like the Aquila City theme.
yeah,
The Aquila City theme does not match what the modern incarnation of it is, and that makes a lot of sense when you realize that
hmm
in 2018, 2019, someone played Red Dead Redemption 2, and Aquila City changed dramatically from what its concept art was. And so you have the Aquila City
yeah,
theme that's like the concept art of Aquila City, and then you have like later Aquila City adjacent themes that are like just strong cowboy songs.
yeah. And but I think it was funny because we were making jokes about Inan Zur going around the studio asking developers and stuff, what is Starfield about? What is
Which
like
we should clarify is something that he said.
yeah,
We're
like
not making this up. This is in their marketing, that Inan Zur was going around asking what the fuck this game is.
and now I'm playing the game and it's like, oh, that wasn't like hyperbole or something. He must have literally been going around and he never got a clear answer because they didn't know. because this game you play it and it's just like, what the fuck is
Which
this
is funny
game? It's
because
such a mishmash.
76 has a much stronger soundtrack.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure they were able to effectively answer those questions to give him a
I
strong
mean,
framework to score that game.
I joked about it in my Fallout 76 video. It's like if anybody went to West Virginia, it was Anand Zur. Like the short of him going into outer space, it's going to be difficult for him to like really come up. He needs the designers to explain to him what's going on. He also, has a lot of experience doing Fallout soundtracks and stuff too. It's like
It's
I
really
don't.
uncomfortable with the Mick Gordon thing, where he was
Yeah.
also begging for any kind of inkling that he could base his music on.
Yeah,
For Doom
feedback and
Eternal.
stuff. Yeah.
Listen, it's Bethesda magic. It'll all come together.
Yeah. It it came together all right.
It'll all come
Just
together in 2022 and be dubiously fun. I was going to say a good example. I was going to say this earlier. Another good example of the lack of cohesion is there's a thing where guards will give you money for being in the Vanguard. And it's like 3,000 credits. And so it's
what?
like
They just like random guards will just give you money.
yeah, random guards just give me money for being in the Vanguard. It's 3,000 credits, which like raises so many questions about what exactly the actual like functional value of stuff is, because
Yeah.
30,000 credits is a home in the well, 50,000 credits is a ship, 3,000 credits would buy you a gun, which would be like
Yeah.
it would be like a police officer giving you $1,000 just apropos of nothing.
What so they just is it one of those things where it's just like, "Hey, we appreciate all the stuff you're doing around here. Here's some money."
Yeah, that's basically the long and short
Okay.
of it.
Okay.
But
So
the,
they're
the
like,
value is completely nonsensical.
yeah. No,
Because it's like,
you want to talk about no. You want to talk about values that are nonsensical. Let's talk about the XP for completing quests and jobs and stuff like that. Holy crap, dude. So during the main quest, the fight that you have in orbit of like the last planet, the buried planet, where
Masada,
you go,
yeah.
yeah. That gives 380 XP, 350 or 380.
It's
Completing a
scaled based on
whole
what level it is, but yeah, killing
oh,
ships
okay,
gives you more experience than
more
completing
experience than
quests.
completing quests.
Yes.
More I got more XP from just killing enemies in outer space than I did from doing the entire fucking Crimson Fleet quest line.
Yes.
Just wow. Just
Yeah, no,
amazing.
I mean, there's no consistency in value for experience, and that has huge knock-on problems for the game's progression, where
Oh yeah.
playing it like a regular person, the leveling is glacial, and so
It's
you kind of have
awful.
to play it like a psychotic person.
Yeah. You
And you
if
have to
you
bear in mind,
wanna
there's at least 60 to 80 perks that are like mandatory,
yeah.
that everybody has to take independent of their build, because
Yeah.
it's worse than Fallout 4 in that respect.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there. Like all the stuff related to the jetpack, that should straight up just be upgrades for. Why do upgrades in this game exist? Why do suit upgrades exist? Why do gun upgrades exist? Because the better stuff is in the perks. A lot of the stuff is locked behind the perks.
Well,
So it's like,
people
if I have
praise
to get the
the
perks to get the fucking upgrades, then why don't I just skip the middleman and just get the upgrade straight from the perks?
well, okay, so a lot of people praised those components of Fallout 4, the weapon customization stuff, and
Which
I guess
I,
research was supposed to be a replacement for like scavenging.
but you still have to you have to scavenge still in order to do the research.
Well, it's like
It's
it's like
they took the Fallout 4 system and then they just added like way more unnecessary complexity to it rather than
way
expanding
more
it. They just
complexity for little benefit, because there's still
because
so
it's
many
still
best in slot. There's best in slot upgrades for every
yeah.
gun,
And
just like
functionally,
Fallout
it's
4,
still the same system. It doesn't add anything new to it. It just takes what Fallout 4 did, breaks it apart, and spreads it across all of these disparate, disjointed systems.
and makes it a lot
And
more
just
difficult to understand what's valuable in terms of
yeah.
resources.
Oh my god. And it and then it's just so expensive to do a lot of the research and stuff.
Hey,
And
listen, you wanted a money sink. But
it's
of
all
course,
of
it's
the
not a money sink, it's a time sink.
yeah, it's a time sink, and
Because
that's
it's
the
not like you can
problem.
just it's not like you can just order the stuff that you need and have it
No.
delivered to you. No, you need to go to a merchant who has a leveled list and they might have the materials that you're looking for.
Yeah. So then you're gonna do a bunch of jumping around between systems, and it's like every research,
We're
every gun
sitting in
upgrade,
place and
everything
waiting.
requires completely different materials. There's no continuity. There's no like even real logic behind it. So I can't even really intuit what I'm going to need because there's like 6 or 7 different
And
gases and stuff like that.
and
So it's like,
it's
which gas am I gonna need for this fucking laser upgrade?
and it's weird because you don't know where outposts are supposed to fit into this entire paradigm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do I use outposts to get common materials that I'm going to use a lot? Is that a thing? Or do I use outposts to get rare materials like
I
in the time that that I spend setting up an outpost to get, like, I think a
I am
titanium outpost is probably the one that justifies itself the most. I think that's like a huge
yeah.
bottleneck resource. But
Yeah.
like the only reason I know that it's a bottleneck resource is because I've already been through the system, and now that I'm on the other side, it's like I don't have to fucking research anything.
Yeah.
I don't need titanium anymore. Or if I need titanium, I can just land on a planet and run around and get it with
Just
the
yeah,
and
with the, with
like setting up an outpost was completely pointless because it's so time consuming.
it it's time consuming and it's really fucking tedious. It's not at all straightforward,
There are so many
and
reviews that I've been
there's
watching
so
that
many limitations on the system as well.
there's so many reviews
Like
that I'm watching that are like, well, I assume the outpost system is good. I didn't get to mess with it. It seems like a late game thing, and it's like, so you just assume that it's good
yeah,
and you didn't
yeah,
mess with it
yeah,
at all, and you put 100 hours into this game. How did you put 100 hours into this game and not dip your toes into the system to realize, oh, it's fucking stupid?
yeah. No, that's why
And
I've seen different reviews and everything like that, and I've been completely unimpressed with the level of just people that's just not going into it. People are just not going into the game deep
I
enough.
was writing it today. I said it's been hilarious to watch people fumble around with what exactly is going on with New Game Plus. And part of that is
Yeah.
that like none of the reviews seem to clear up people's questions about it because
And
they
it's
either didn't
probably
know it was a thing or they were like, "Oh, I'm making a video that's a public service and so I'm not going to spoil the game for people." And it's like,
yeah.
great. So there's like 30 fucking reviews that came out on day 1 that all didn't do spoilers.
Or
And
they
so
all didn't or none of them actually did New Game Plus because it is intimidating to be doing a video like this and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna wipe everything
I
on
found
my
it
first
liberating.
playthrough." Oh, I did too. I loved it. New
I,
Game Plus is honestly one of my favorite additions. I was
I know.
surprised.
It's definitely one of my up there for me too because I was like, Skyrim and Fallout 4 would be complemented greatly with New Game Plus. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably Oblivion too.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Especially like
Morrowind, no. Morrowind works really well around the paradigm of actually creating new characters,
yeah.
whereas like the progression systems in the other games with the level scaling and
Mhm.
the near infinite content and increases, like, yeah, New Game Plus seems like a really smart idea.
I think
Well,
what would
Fallout 4
improve
is like better in the first 30 levels.
yeah,
So like
well, that yeah, that's the
if you're
thing
doing New
too.
Game Plus, it's like so you're gonna start the main story over, but you're level 30. Oh, great. So it's gonna be a mono build your second run, whereas like Fallout 4 actually does have build variety in the early game, but
Mhm. Yeah, that's one of the things I was
maybe
trying to
Fallout
hone in on
76.
with Starfield is, what is the ideal level range? Because all Bethesda games have an ideal level range where the game is at its, like, peak fun. Um, I don't I don't
I don't
know
think
in
there is
Starfield's
one.
case. Yeah, and it's not because, oh, they just managed to make it like a really nice balanced, experience all the way through. It's no, there never is an experience where it's ideal. The level scaling in that game is so fucking all over the place, it's insane.
Well, and your mono build for the first like 60 levels.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that too.
if you like I showed you that picture of the guy that had like
You know what would help with the
six
mono build too?
some
The
combat perks invested in.
yeah, that was hilarious to see. That was pretty fucking cursed.
Professional game reviewer, everybody.
Yeah. But so the system of hiring people to supplement the skills that you're not picking, would really go a long way if there were actually people who had fucking skills where nobody had any research skills. I've been on the hunt this whole fucking time for people with
Yeah.
research skills, ship design, anything like that. Any of those like ones that were just dump stats. None of them have it.
I think their concern was probably that they were worried that people would do exactly that. They don't want to have
Yeah,
Sarah Morgan unlock like Class C ships. So
but
they
it's like,
so
but then there's so many fucking perks that I have to get right out of the gate, and if leveling up is so fucking slow,
mhm.
and
Yeah, it's like
there's no,
I think
you know,
at this
what?
point at levels in the level 70 range, I have like 5 points invested into combat. And
I
it's
have
just like 3 ranks of ballistics and 2 ranks of
I have
shotguns.
here's how fucked up this leveling system is. I have 10 perk points that I've been saving so that I can dump them into different research and like building perks and stuff because in order to get the next rank in like gunsmithing, you have to like craft 5 or 10,
Mhm.
whatever things, upgrades. So it's like I've been holding on to perk points because I need to complete the fucking challenges in order to unlock those research things. And it's just like, this is insane. I'm sitting on literally 10 levels worth of stuff.
That's interesting. I didn't have any problems with feeling the need to cache more than 1 perk point at a time.
I I don't know.
Like the research system is bad.
I'll,
The problem I
I'd be
ran into
interested.
with the research system is
What
that
we really should do is compare our builds.
yeah. Yeah, we could probably do that. But
Yeah.
what happened in my run was I was trying to get all the research done in my run where I was doing all of the quest lines. And the problem I started to run into was that I wasn't able to level fast enough to keep up with the research, like completing the tiers of the research, because the game gives you so little experience if you aren't doing the new game plus grind.
Yeah.
No joke, it was like I'd complete an entire quest line and still not have leveled up.
What's funny too is like the new game grind, I feel like is a satisfying progression.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
that
isn't it
pace,
weird?
yeah, I felt like that pace was like actually
And so it
appropriate.
raises the question, like, do they actually expect people to do 10 run-throughs of New Game Plus to
Well, when
unlock
you
all the max ranks of all their powers?
this is one of the jokes I'm gonna make is that it's diegetic because the whole point of doing New Game Plus, like the story, the narrative purpose of it is that you're just getting more powerful and it becomes this like really
More powerful and more jaded.
yeah, yeah. And it becomes this like really tempting thing to just continue to do these runs. So it's like, did they do this intentionally?
It would
Or
be
is
an
it just
amazing piece of storytelling if, like, killing the people at Constellation was, like, a way to speed run the main quest,
yeah.
because that's exactly what the Hunter does,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but they don't go for that. So I don't buy that any of it's diegetic. I think it's just
No, no, no.
it's just fucked
I
up.
think yeah, what I think
They
was
have
that
10 ranks of
it,
temples so that you never run out of temples to do. I don't think that they're actually like they actually want people to do fucking 10 runs of New Game Plus.
yeah, I would say I think they intended for people to do like 3, 2 or 3.
Yeah, because I mean there's 3 endings
Yeah.
in quotes. There's 2 people you can pick or you can do it for yourself, basically.
Yeah. And one of those will be like your Starborn run. And so like you would repeat the quest line. I think you're only meant to do like a repeat of the whole quest line maybe
Oh,
once
well,
with
it
the
was the most
Starborn lines.
embarrassing thing that they said that they started with the ending, because it's like, oh, well, you guys probably could have thought through that whole replay in the main quest thing.
Really?
Because it's so
That's what
jank.
they said? They
Yeah,
said
no,
that it
Todd Howard said that like they had started with the ending,
oh my god. So they started from the get-go knowing that they
which
wanted to
is
do a
what you have to
multiverse
do if
thing.
you're going to tell this multiverse story where you can reset the universe. You have to start from
Yeah.
the ending forward and say, okay, at
Yeah.
this quest on the second run, the player's already going to know that the first artifact they're looking for is in Neptune's orbit. And I need to go check. I still need to go check if like you can just go straight to Neptune after you get that quest. But I have an inkling that that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So the Starborn checks are like skipping bribes and
Yeah,
skipping
yeah.
bribes and like minor tasks, which is hilarious because money has no value if you're on your Starborn run. Because
Mhm.
at that point you're playing run throughs of the game where you're gonna reset anyways.
It's yeah, yeah. So
But
that's
I
one
was
of the
looking
main
for stuff to spend money
destructive
on when I was doing my
it's
final reset.
it was fascinating watching, like, documenting the dilemma within myself of doing new game runs where it's like, on the one hand, it is fun to do like a reset and like having to like scrounge to like get
Yeah.
like a build going and stuff. But on the other hand, it has this horribly destructive influence on me just at all being engaged with anything like any sort of consequences for my actions or anything like that. 'Cause it's like, I'm just going to reset. Why am I gonna
Well,
loot
and that's
anything? I'm
that's
gonna
what I'm talking about
reset.
with the storytelling possibilities. It's like you don't have to have essential flags after the first universe.
Yeah.
Do a mode for this game where there's no essential flags if you reset, and just you have to reset again if you fuck up the quest line and like kill an important NPC.
Yeah.
It's like there's tons of opportunities to make this interesting, and it's insane to me that you like
Didn't.
they made it a creative restriction instead of making it a creative opportunity, which is pretty bizarre.
Well, that's kind of Bethesda's MO. In my Skyrim review, I was talking about the rat ways in
Riften.
Riften, and I was saying how in a game like this you have very few guarantees. But the rat ways was a unique opportunity where you're basically guaranteed that every player playing this game is going to be going through this space, possibly several times. You could have done something unique like going through there every once in a while, another section of the dungeon might open up or something. Like it, they treated it like it was an enemy. That it's just this obstacle that, well, the players are just going to have to run through this place and kind of have to deal with the fact that they're just going to be wasting 30 seconds every time they come through here after clearing it the first time. And it's like, no, you could instead approach it, be like, okay, we know the players are going to be going through here. What can we do to utilize that, turn that to some sort of strength? But, Bethesda doesn't really have that sort of
Well,
outside the
listen, they're
box
an indie
thinking.
team. You're expecting too much of them.
And that's what drives me insane about like this whole I think Starfield was a mistake for like from the very inception of it, because it's such an antithesis to what Bethesda's like core competencies are, and it really
You
I've
know,
seen
you're not
much
wrong.
more I've seen much more creative studios fail at doing these sorts of games.
Mass Effect
And
Andromeda is a very good example because they were actually going to do the proc gen thing.
yeah, and it's like in order to tackle a game like this, you need to have some sort of creative thinking, because the game, like the whole idea behind a space game is like infinite. Space is infinite. Well, we don't have infinite resources as a studio in, video games and stuff. So we have to create the illusion of infinity. That already requires some serious levels of like creative work and everything. And then you just start going down the list, and it's like, well, how do we handle traveling through outer space? How do we handle Earth? Earth is a big thing, always a stumbling point for a lot of these sorts of games.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's amazing how lazy Earth was.
yeah.
Like,
But it's
actually
like,
baffling.
I have not seen any sort of creative decision making, any sort of like serious creativity out of Bethesda in years. I wouldn't even say Skyrim was all that creative with a lot of their. I feel like
Their
Oblivion,
art team,
Shivering Isles.
their art team is stretching their muscles a lot, and that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. But I just think Starfield from the inception was just an idea that should have been shot down.
Well, okay, so the basic story of how Starfield came to be, I'm gonna include this in the video. So this is not any kind of trade secret, but how Starfield came to be was in 2013, Todd Howard came up with the name, and so he went to Robert Altman, the president of ZeniMax, and pitched Starfield. And as far as I can tell, the extent of the pitch was it's one of our types of games, but in space, and it'll be called Starfield.
Mhm.
Like that was the extent of his pitch. Was it'll just be Skyrim in space.
Which is fun.
Because that
right.
was the last game they had put out
God.
when he was pitching it.
When did like when what was it, Call of Duty Future Warfare or something, like the first one where they
The
went to
space one?
space. Yeah, and everybody was starting to make fun of games at that point, because everybody's like, oh, we're shifting over to like,
To do it in
we're
space. I think it was this was
yeah,
before because it's 2013. So I mean,
yeah. I'm trying to
basically ancient history.
yeah. I think it was around that time, but yeah, it'd be just funny if like Starfield, its inception came about when everybody was kind of making fun of all these studios and stuff, wanting
Well,
to do
it's
space.
interesting that their story predates the modern obsession with the multiverse. And by modern obsession, I mean the modern obsession with writers completely
Yeah.
butchering the multiverse. And so it's like they should have released this game last year just for that reason. Because now there's even more multiverse films that have come out and been bad.
Yeah. I can't think of a single
A single good multiverse story.
multiverse story.
I've
Yeah.
heard that I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, that movie, I think that one's about the multiverse,
Hmm.
and I heard it was good. But it's a very daunting thing to write, to say the least. And if you're the team that made Fallout 4 and you listen to zero criticism, and I have proof that they didn't listen to criticism. If you're that team and you're tasked with, I don't know why they decided to go above and beyond is the whole matter.
Yeah. They didn't
Why scale things up when your worst game, whether you count Fallout 76 or not as being one of their games, their
Yeah.
worst game is still the last one they made.
Yeah.
In terms of review scores, but I mean also in terms of like
this
it
needed
is
to
kind
be
of their worst.
I saw a headline today where somebody was saying, I didn't read the article, but they were saying that Starfield should have been Bethesda's reinvention of themselves. Like it was the perfect opportunity for them to really redefine who they are and stuff, and
I
set
don't even think
themselves on.
redefine, just define.
Yeah,
Because I was watching a video and the guy said, I think I told you about it. The guy said that he was a big fan of Bethesda in the Morrowind Skyrim era.
yeah,
And this is a return to form to them. But like he said it multiple times that I started to think that like he was excluding Oblivion and Fallout 3 from that. So it's like specifically Morrowind and Skyrim. Yeah, Starfield's like those games. And so it's like Bethesda has at least 5 or 6 different identities.
yeah.
And,
Well, I mean,
conflicting identities.
when you release games at this point, almost a decade apart, which actually no, but it's funny because they've been the most stagnant since they started doing like the decades long.
No, that's the ironic thing, is that they're taking longer to put out worse products. And
Yeah,
Emil justifies the no design document thing by saying that they were wasting time on the design documents, but it's like, yeah, but that's when you guys were making games in 3 years.
yeah,
Now you're making games in 8 years and you have way more issues. And it's because of something that we as content creators know, which is that any work you do in pre-production pays massive dividends
yes,
in the actual production. Like I have a design document, not just a script, an actual design document. So, and I firmly believe that the lack of a design document contributes to more than just the lack of mechanical and narrative cohesion, but also the bloated development times that they're doing. Because it's not just COVID that delayed this game.
no,
But I also think that a lack of a central design document contributes to there being many bugs.
probably.
And a big
There
hurdle for this
are
development was them just bug chasing for 10 months. 10
there
plus months, I should say.
Yeah, there are bugs in this game that I'm seeing people talking about now. That I'm like, you guys do realize those bugs existed in Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
Like people are saying like one of the popular bugs people are complaining about right now is not being able to shoot. And it's like, yeah, that was in
Skyrim, yeah.
that was in Skyrim. That was also in Fallout 4. I have it on footage in Fallout 76. Several instances of me just not being able to shoot my guns.
I didn't experience that one. I think it's a frame rate thing.
There's the broken doors one. The lodge
Yes.
on my save now seems to be getting corrupted, and so like
yes,
every
the
once in a
lodge
while,
specifically
I'll go to
is
the lodge.
weak to it because I think because it's a central location.
Yeah, where you go in and out a lot.
Thankfully,
So,
they have a
like,
second door.
yeah. Oh my.
But like, I think it's because the companions use the door so much because it's like they show up to the lodge when you're parked in the city.
Yeah.
And so the companions travel through that door quite a bit.
A very neat detail. I appreciate.
I mean, I guess, but it's
Landing my
pointless because they don't do any. Like nobody does anything at the lodge. like, like Vlad is pretty much the only person that actually works at Constellation. That's a narrative thing. We can talk about that later. But like, yeah, there's
Well,
Like you said, there's
Noelle does her
bugs.
scans. Noelle does her scans.
Yeah,
But
they contribute nothing because you can't scan the artifacts, and so like Noelle is just she's an interesting character to analyze, and like why is she in this story? Because
yeah,
she doesn't contribute a single thing
I
to the narrative.
remember.
Like the most contribution she does is that she runs from the hunter.
Yeah. she's the hype man of the group, basically. I was comparing her to Valdez originally, and I realized that Valdez does way more than she
No,
does.
Valdez is like way higher level administrative contribution.
Oh my god. Do we talk about the story already?
No, we've still got more things to kind of cut through. I mean, ship combat. I predicted that a single difficulty slider for ground combat and ship combat was going to create problems. Surprise, surprise, it created
yeah.
problems. The difficulties are completely unbalanced
So
in between the modes, and
so
so
I have the biggest condemnation of the difficulty discrepancy there. During the Crimson Fleet questline, I was using my Starborn ship, which is not upgradable, and you have to install 2 modules on your ship in order to actually do the second and final quest. So I had to buy a new ship. So I got like 150,000 credit Crimson Fleet ship, whatever. Not really the best ship at all. And I installed the modules on it, went and did the mission. Then I jumped, got ambushed by what's his face, and I got wrecked immediately because he's level scaled. And I'm in
yeah.
my almost level 70 by that point, and I'm in a ship that's designed for somebody who's like level 20. And I'm just getting fucking annihilated. So I literally had to, and bear in mind, I'm on the very easiest difficulty as well. I literally had to use console commands to get out of this because I was soft locked because I couldn't jump to any other systems. It so
Yeah, I mean
and then I got to the end fight, and I just had to console command everything because I was
the big
getting because I was just
fleet
getting
battle.
annihilated. I was getting
I
annihilated
was getting
instantly.
annihilated in a ship that was C class in terms of all of its components.
Yeah.
So I had the best shield system in the game, the best weapons in the game, and I was getting filtered by it. And what I had to do, I didn't want to turn that difficulty, so I didn't. So what I did in the final battle, where it's like this was especially problematic on the sys def side, was as soon as I came in, I flipped the ship around and flew like 6 kilometers away because they will stay around the station and like infinitely
Yeah.
fight these like sysdef ships that are essential and can't do any
Yeah.
damage. I would like peek my head in to about the 2.5 kilometer range and just snipe one Crimson Fleet ship at a time, and then fly away as soon as I got any modicum of attention on me. And I had to do that. It was the scummiest tactic I've done because the AI was completely incapable of actually responding to that kind of thing. But
So
it's like the game can't handle them. In a weird way, the Crimson Fleet questline is the most ambitious in
yeah.
terms of making assumptions about what mechanics are going to be there.
Yeah.
But
What I had to do for that fight, because I did a second playthrough of that. I did a
oh my god,
genocide
you
run.
cheated! Go on.
Yeah,
I
did
still need to do my genocide run.
it was surprisingly. I could tell that the like Emil or the quest line was resentful towards me genociding the whole thing, but
Yeah,
it
come on. It's supposed to have
accommodated
a
me.
Donnie Brasco vibe.
I'm going to use that clip of him saying like paper airplanes and shit, and
Yeah.
then hard cut to me just like killing everything in the in that
You're
what is
ruining
it,
his great American novel.
the who done it 2.0 3.0 fucking
The
ship.
Terran Preservation Society
Yeah,
quest.
yeah. But anyways, yeah. So for my second playthrough, I actually tooled up properly. I bought like a really nice ship. Of course, I console commanded the money in so I could buy the ship, but fuck it. Um,
No,
and
you should have been grinding Radiant Dungeons. Come on.
I was still playing on very easy though, because the ship combat was still just like, even on very easy, I was still getting fucking annihilated in this like A class best ship that the Crimson Fleet sells, right?
Yeah.
So come to that last fight, what I did was I hid behind the key, and I don't know if you did this in Halo Reach during the Long Night of Solace quest
Yeah, another
or mission.
famously unbalanced
Yeah,
ship combat system.
Yeah, so like the strategy for that mission is you hide behind the station and then just like take pot shots at the enemies. So I did that with this in Starfield, and it actually worked exceptionally well. And yeah, that's how I got through that the second time
Well,
without
the weird
console
part
commanding.
is the ship progression mechanically was like probably my
Uh,
favorite form of character
yeah,
progression in the game
yeah,
because it was like
absolutely.
I was consistently broke for like 20 hours because
Hmm.
every credit I got
I just put it into
was
my ship.
invested into my ship.
Yeah, I
And
love I
it was really fun, but like
and it's like and it's ship designing is fun.
yeah,
Getting to like walk around your ship and stuff is pretty cool, seeing it landing and everything. It's like
mhm,
there was some like serious stuff that actually paid off with shipbuilding, I feel like.
yeah.
And yeah, it complements the progression. It's one of the only things that actually has progression in this game, honestly. Then you're using it in ship combat.
Yeah, it's
And
like the shitty ground combat progression complements a really good combat mode, and the really nice ship progression complements a really bad ship combat mode.
a ship combat mode that for the most part you can skip until they put you in a situation where you can't.
And yeah,
But
until like there's the odd quest where you can't.
it's so inconsistent too. Like sometimes you can jump out of a combat situation, sometimes you can't. And it's just it's dude, it's fast traveling in that game is so fucking frustrating because sometimes you can fast travel, sometimes you can't. And there seems to be no rhyme or reason to when you can and when you can't. Like
Or the
there's a
rules of like if you actually end up on the planet or in orbit.
yeah. Yeah, that too.
I was do
Or
I was doing some testing, and so I loaded up my save on Crete, the Bleak Falls Barrow planet.
yeah.
That's that's all it is. And I was testing like, okay, at what point do they allow you to fast travel to actually leave the main quest progression? And the answer is, you have two options. You have to go with the sequence until you get to Atlantis. And then once you're at New Atlantis, you can either do the final conversation and get the next quest, and then you have the access to the frontier and can fast travel anywhere, or you can buy a ship in New Atlantis
What?
and use that ship to fast travel. So
What?
like you can never turn in that you can get away with not turning in the artifact if you somehow have I think the cheapest ship was like 50,000 credits.
Yeah.
If you can get 50,000
Oh,
credits when you're in New Atlantis, you can buy a ship and skip the main quest.
oh my.
It's the one of the most petty things that you could do to skip a 3-minute conversation in the main quest. But like I'm sure it'll come up as like, well, technically you have this role playing option, but it's like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this morning I was testing that out, seeing like when does the tutorial cut you loose? And I got to update how long the tutorial was because I thought it was 70 minutes, but it was actually like closer to 90 minutes,
The
not
tutorial that
including
doesn't even
character
fucking
creation.
teach you like half the mechanics that are in the game, like
No,
lock
it's
picking.
bizarre. I have a very long section that basically says like so Crete was basically unnecessary
Yeah.
because narratively the tutorial gives you so much that it shouldn't because you get the watch that nobody else has, you get
Yeah.
a free spaceship, a robotic slave, the artifact, and it gives you all that in like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So it's like that part's as long as Skyrim's intro, but then for some reason there's just a 70-minute mandatory ship combat and additional ground combat tutorial and like forced to go to New Atlantis. Like, I don't know why those components of the introduction are there.
Yeah.
But I mean, my theory is that you know how they had bots testing the first two main quests.
Yeah, yeah.
My theory was that they were hesitant on about cutting Crete, which they absolutely should have, because it would break the bots that they used to test the intro. And so you've got this pointless tutorial sequence that, like you said, really doesn't introduce a lot of mechanics that it should, and spends too long introducing mechanics that it doesn't need to.
Yeah. And it does a bad job explaining certain things. Like the ship combat section, I only picked up like some what it was talking about the second time through because it doesn't really give you much time to really interface with what's going on before it just starts throwing enemies at you.
Well, and the common problem that this game has is that you're talking to an enemy, and then as soon as you like, before you can even get out of the dialogue, they're
You're
already
gonna,
lighting you up.
yeah. That it
And
happens specifically in space, I've noticed.
well, and the difficulty slider for this is a funny thing. The difficulty slider for space combat doesn't just affect their health like it does in the ground combat.
Mm-hmm.
It also affects their speed and the rate at which their weapons fire and their maneuverability.
Really?
Yeah, that's why it's so bad. It's
What
because
the
they can just
fuck?
absolutely obliterate you within seconds. I haven't tested the limits of how difficulty scaling works with the space combat yet because I'm really hesitant to like engineer a scenario where I could test it.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I kind of just don't want to mess with it at all. Like I don't think it's a particularly fun system.
It's not fun, and it's probably going to be getting changed,
You think
I
so?
imagine.
Like a
I th-
rework?
I I think so. I think they're going to do some balancing, because it's like that's one of the major things people are really
I
bitching
don't think
about
they're going to
right
do
now.
balancing. I think they're going to. I think at most
I
they
don't
will
know.
add
I don't know.
a.
According to that thing that I sent you earlier today from their most recent, their newest patch notes, they're going to be doing balancing changes.
I think the balancing change will take the form of an independent difficulty slider for ship combat
Maybe.
because this is a game where like I'm very comfortable playing on hard or very hard.
Yeah.
But the ship combat is like the ship combat is much. It's interesting because you can stay in the low level space areas and have easier combat encounters with the space combat, but then it's like
Yeah.
it feels random
It really
when you'll run into the wall on it.
yeah, that's what's weird. Star systems are level scaled, but I don't really notice it because every like encounter that I have feels random, because I'll run into encounters where it's like everybody's level 5s and 10s, but then there's a level 70 or 80 in there.
Yeah. But then
And it's
one of the
like,
ships is legendary. So they were
yeah.
pitching legendary ships, and I was like, so is it going to be Black Flag legendary ships where it's like the huge man of war that's really hard to fight, or is it just going to be a regular ship but it's got
That's
3 health
just
bars?
yeah, yeah.
And I guess it's just regular ships that have 3 health bars because that's all I ever ran into in terms of legendary ships. Which is weird because I don't think legendary gear drops in ship combat. It's just resources.
Yeah.
Which is like another thing. Like, why would you engage in ship combat? Because the piracy doesn't. The piracy. It's amazing how bad piracy is. It's like, cool, I made 1,000 credits stealing your ship. Very time
Yeah.
consuming,
Oh,
very
yeah.
tedious, very delicate work. Because you do have to go out of your way to like not accidentally blow up the ship when you're disabling their engines.
Yep.
But then like, it's like, so I got 1,000 credits, cool. I could have shot a level 5 guy and taken and sold his weapon.
Yeah. It's been interesting seeing people catching on to that as well. Everybody's saying, just sell weapons, sell gear and stuff that you pick up off of, dead pirates and stuff. So, it'll be interesting to see if there's any balance changes with that. What I could see them doing is just tweaking down how much money you make with,
No, but listen, we got the Frostfall guy to do the economy for Starfield.
Yeah.
I'm loving. So we know what some of the modders that were hired to work on Starfield. We know like what they've done. They did some of the like least appreciated work for the game. Like they legitimately got these people to do things that just get trampled. Like Eleonora made the she was like a big Skyrim house modder.
Yeah.
She was responsible for clutter in Starfield.
Okay.
My condolences for you.
Yeah.
For them changing the clutter system to be effectively valueless.
Yeah.
Where it's like, like I love that the companions even rag on you for picking up clutter in this game. Because
I
I was like, it's worth money, and I need money right now. And I
that
guess the
was
companions are aware that at higher levels you should just be stripping weapons.
yeah. That was because that was one of the things people compliment about Fallout 4. It's like, wow, everything has some sort of value now. So going into Starfield, I was like, oh, I guess I'll take all the toasters, right? And then it's just no, that shit's just worthless again. So much so that somebody made a mod that makes it so that you can't pick up those items.
Which
And
is
it's just
amazing, to say the least. Like someone's entire job being turned off by a mod because there's no central design document. Because it breaks the rule of Fallout and Elder Scrolls had this rule where like everything that you see on a shelf can generally be interacted with and picked up.
Mhm.
And Starfield breaks that rule a lot. There are a lot of items that can't be interacted with or taken.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is you'll occasionally see like a house of cards someone set up.
Mm-hmm.
In previous Elder Scrolls games, if that was there, every single card would be an individual item. So, the thing would 9 times out of 10 just be exploded around the room.
Yeah.
But in this game, if you interact with it, you take a card, the card gets added to your inventory, and then a canned animation plays of the thing collapsing. I
Oof.
just found that I just found that fascinating.
No,
It's
but
like,
listen, you can spawn 10,000 cheese wheels.
yeah, you can fill a hold of your ship with 20,000 potatoes and stuff like that. I understand that, they probably had to make certain sacrifices in order to get, like, zero gravity to work, but,
Look at this. Well, that's the weird part, is that the physics in zero gravity works really well.
yeah.
Like you in a regular instance, you're not going to run into enough objects interactions to actually lag your game, which is
Yeah.
incredible for this
One
engine.
of one of my favorite, abilities in this game is gravity well,
Yeah.
and it is kind of interesting throwing that down and then just watching, like, maybe, like, 20 or 30 items get sucked into it, and it's just,
Oh,
like, so
so you do that in a zero G dungeon like I was doing with the console, and those objects just keep going around the room.
yeah.
That's what's crazy about it. It's like, so this room, the entire time I'm in this dungeon, there's the cafeteria is just exploded, and all the food items are like flying around,
Just bouncing
and
around
there's
between
no
the walls and
issues. And
stuff.
it's like, why didn't they market this? Why didn't they use
Yeah.
this more? Oh yeah, because there's no central design document, and so nobody made more quests where you fight in zero gravity. So I got to use a console command to turn dungeons into zero G. Cool. Good job.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around looting in this game, because I hate looting in this game, and I'm trying to really put my finger on what it is, but I think what it's just a
I
combination of all sorts of different issues.
I think this is the game that will break people's loot goblin habits.
Oh, it broke mine entirely. I mean, you saw how I played Fallout
Yeah.
76 for, like, our first 20 or 30 hours,
I mean,
like, I
you can
fucking
strip places of all of their things. They have
but
a mode that shows you what's interactable.
yeah, and I would use that a lot. I would still use it, to more specifically to find, like, digipicks
I wonder if
because
like is the play walk into a room, gravity well to ceiling, and then use the gravity well to get all of the items
yeah.
into one spot and just pick them all up after the gravity well's over.
Man, I think one of the most frustrating, things is being in the scanner mode and not being able to open containers. So, like, the
Yep.
lockers that are closed, you have to and of course, there's stuff in the lockers that you wanna get, like digipicks and credit sticks and stuff like that, or, like,
Well, of course,
meds.
and
You'll
this is
find
yet
meds in
another
those
game
things
where the
too.
realization is that you shouldn't lockpick because it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool.
Which is a shame because I actually kinda like the lockpicking minigame in this.
The mode is neat, but like once you come to that realization, it's like, oh,
Yeah, like, I
like this game really
really
does break the loot goblin mentality. Skyrim did pretty well to like keep you from being an absolute loot goblin.
Yeah, well, because you realize that what you really should be looting is, like, the bodies of boss enemies, uh, boss chests, and, like, maybe some occasional, like, side chests and stuff like that.
Yeah, you build up like a mental tally of value to weight ratios, which is
Yeah,
ironic that that's still not a
not in the UI.
default
Yeah.
sort option. It's very funny. No sell all junk, despite there being a junk category.
Yeah.
They have store all resources, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, you can't take all resources from a companion, though.
Hmm.
So you have to go into it and manually take everything out, which,
Well, listen, they're an indie team. They're gonna add the FOV slider in a patch.
Oh my god. Highly requested feature. We're working on it, guys.
We
DLSS
didn't know
support
that you
as
guys
well.
still wanted to do that. We
FOV,
thought it was
yeah.
just a fad.
I like how no FOV slider, but surprisingly, there's the ability to hide your armor and helmet when in settlements.
Well, of course.
Like, just, I there's so many different things. I was reading something last night where there's actually a forward boost on your jetpack.
Yeah, I
It's
saw
just not
that.
bound to any keys. So you have to go in and like bind jump to 2 different keys.
Well, see, it's deeper than you give credit for, okay? If you're just working
So
off
like
of what they're
one
teaching,
will
it's a
do
hardcore
your vertical and then the other
RPG.
one will do
It's not
your
holding your
horizontal
hand.
boost.
I love seeing the Reddit posts of people like, why don't people appreciate this as the true role-playing game that this is? And it's because it's all superficial. And I think that's the fun part of the process is like the people that are going to be critical still haven't put out their videos yet. And so like you have a lot of people that are like kind of running around thinking, man, this game is like they were with Fallout 4 and like
Did
they
I
were
lose
with
you?
Skyrim. They're just running
Okay.
around like this game is amazing and it's a deep RPG and it goes much deeper than people are giving it credit for. And it's like just wait until the wait until the analysis videos start coming out and the group think starts to change. Which I mean, credit to the Starfield community for giving the game a 75% rating on Steam.
Yeah,
Almost tied with Fallout 76.
Fallout 76, 1 point above it right now. I don't know, it's dropping every day, so today it might hit 75%.
Mm-hmm. How long can the controversy continue? I feel like it's got to be a long time because I feel like the bailout for Starfield is when the Cyberpunk update comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's the bailout, but it's also like the fucking final nail in the coffin for the game. Because I've seen like the feature lists of what all is going to be in that mode, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I don't like you like the Baldur's Gate 3 comparison cope doesn't work because Cyberpunk is like very much like Starfield.
Yeah.
And Starfield actually in many respects is like store brand Cyberpunk at this point. It's especially apparent in Neon, but it's like
dude. I hate Neon. Every time I was sent there, I just wish I could get a mod that just removes everything Neon related. Just skip every quest there. Just I fucking hate everything about Neon because it is that store brand Cyberpunk.
it's
And it's
West
just
Jank Cyberpunk. We've gone from
yeah.
Poland being like the center of Slav Jank
Yeah.
imitations of Western RPGs, and now like they're kind of leading the industry.
Yeah. The tail's wagging the dog. Fast. It really is fascinating.
No, for sure. And it's like Cyberpunk had a really bad launch. It was really buggy. Game was
Yeah.
kind of boring. But it's like even its launch date was still better than Starfield.
Then Starfield, yeah.
It was a lot more cohesive
Yeah,
mechanically and
yeah,
narratively.
at least there was.
And it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Nothing about Starfield is cool.
Huh.
And it has
What
land
would it
vehicles.
take? What would it take to make Starfield cool?
Well, I mean like a design document. I mean like the problem with the mods will fix it argument is that the amount of shit that mods have to fix increases with each
It's
Bethesda game. So
yeah.
it's like, the reason Skyrim is like this perfect blend of like approachable in terms of what you need to fix with mods. And then
Yeah.
you have Fallout 4 and it's like, I don't know, this is starting to be a bit of a workload. Like fixing this game up. And then Starfield's going to be like an even bigger workload because it's like, can mods fix what's wrong with Starfield? Like with all the loading screens and stuff.
Oh no, there's no way mods
There's
gonna
no
be able to
fucking
fix
way that
that.
mods are going to make it so that you can fly in between planets.
No. I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised when mods are able to get it so that you can travel between 2 different map tiles. And I mean, like, why even bother? Why
Why
even
even
bother
bother?
enabling that?
Well, and
Because
that's what it's boiling down to. That's why you're seeing so many people that are like trying to defend Starfield saying, "Well, why would you want to do that anyways?" And it's like, You know, there's people to this day that take on the challenge of like, hey, let's walk around a planet.
Yeah.
Like people do that to this day. Yeah, it's boring. Not a whole lot happens.
I want to
But
know
there's a novel
if
element in like being able to do that. And Pete Hines said that you could
I want
to
to know
300,000 people.
if someone has already like 100% surveyed every system, every planet.
I know that there's some. I was told somebody's doing that challenge. It seems like you could get it routine,
Yeah.
but I don't see what the benefit would be.
Bragging rights, of course.
Yeah,
To get an article on PC Gamer that says I did it.
I don't know. I think more impressive is day one circumnavigating the planet in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But why would you want to do that? Why would you want to walk long distances?
Well, that oh my god. See that's what was breaking me last night was just like exploring for the sake of exploring in that game
Mm-hmm.
and just how fucking miserable it is.
Yeah.
And it's like this was Bethesda's core competency right here. And it is so fucking bad in Starfield.
No, like
I
world design was the pillar that was holding up the company, and
Yeah,
to kick that
and
pillar out is
yep,
just is the ultimate sign of
dev
arrogance.
so, like just absolutely devastating to the games. There Fallout 4, I felt like had the modern Bethesda formula boiled down to like a cynical level.
Yeah.
And then I come into Starfield and there is no core experience. You know, because like Fallout 4 was what was it like explore, combat, loot, or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
That was the gameplay loop that Joseph
Yeah.
Anderson noted.
And I would actually add a fourth one on that and say upgrade. Fallout 4 encourages like upgrading and stuff as part of the progression. But anyways, I everything I was doing in Starfield felt like the game just did not care what I was doing.
Listen, it's trying to say yes to
It's
you as often as possible.
yeah, it's like it's like a parent that's just like letting you sit there eating junk food, watching television stuff, and just
Yeah, it kind of
skipping
is.
school and
Like
everything
the
like
parent
that.
has no expectations on your life.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, we don't want to force you into feeling pressure to become a lawyer or a doctor. And it's like, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're a free range parent. I'm gonna go do drugs now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go do these like terrible things that are obviously destructive, like going and just grinding 13 universes in a row.
Mm,
I'm sorry, I only went up to 12. I think
mm.
I'm on number 12 now. But it, everything I do in that game feels so pointless because the game is giving me no feedback whatsoever on what I should be doing. There's no direction. There's no I'm trying to sit there, get on the game's level and be like, okay, what do you want me to do? What was the expected like what were the designers sitting there expecting the player to like do and think and feel?
Well, and I
And
think earnestly the answer is that they didn't have
they didn't.
expectations,
Yeah. That's my takeaway from this is that the game like they just didn't know.
which
They
sounds
didn't
like
know
a
it.
good idea. Like, there's so many things about this game's development that, ironically, on paper sound like good ideas, but in practice
Yeah.
are terrible ideas. Like,
Well,
I'm sure Emil thinks of the no
it's
design
one of those
document
things.
things as like, oh, it's like jazz music, you know? They don't have
Yeah.
a plan going into it, and it's like they
Yeah.
don't take 8 years to
Yeah.
to do a jazz performance.
Well, it goes
So
back to what I was saying with creative creative problem solving and stuff. It's like a lot of the ideas in there in Starfield sound like great ideas, but Bethesda is not the studio to be executing on those ideas.
yeah,
It's like a game that allows me to go anywhere and do anything and everything like that. When it's one of those things that they've been working on forever, and I don't think they've ever managed to get it right. It feels like the more that they say yes to the player, the more they have to say no.
yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
we come to Starfield where it's just they took it to such a fucking extreme degree that it literally feels like the game just does not care about me whatsoever.
And they
It
don't
just
leverage it.
yeah. Oh yeah, well that's the thing. It's like you have, Dark Souls or whatever.
Yeah,
People love to praise that as a game that does not really care about you. That's kind of disingenuous, honestly. It does seem like that
yeah.
game is very player centric. It's just it appears like it doesn't care.
Well, you know what? The ironic thing is that people, the common thing in the Starfield reviews is like, Starfield is going to be a game that defines the RPG genre like the other Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. And I'm like, do they though? Because Souls-like is a genre and Tez-like is not.
Yeah.
Fallout-like is not.
Yeah.
This is not. It really isn't. They're really not influential because more people should be copying them if that was the case.
Yeah. The only thing that people would really want to copy from a Bethesda game is just the big open world. That's the only thing worth really duplicating.
The one thing that they were good at and
That
decided
they,
to abandon.
I I just I wish I could be a fly on the wall of Bethesda. I want to be there right now. I want to see if they're looking at like the Metacritic scores and stuff and like the IGN review. I want to know what their response to the IGN review of getting a 7, which is really a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a wild world when IGN is doing some of the better coverage. I'm 8 reviews in. We should watch together um a review.
Hmm.
We'll have to pick which one is probably I'll need the most moral support in watching, but yeah, the review situation was is hilarious to say the least.
It's to be expected, honestly. Because I'm looking at this. I am overwhelmed right now, honestly. Like last night, there came a point where I took a melatonin. I'm like, I got to go to bed because I am feeling overwhelmed right now.
Yeah, I think I nailed the correct amount because I was starting to fade.
Oh, I was
So
fading really bad.
the second to last thing I did was the Crimson Cringe questline, and then the last thing I did was the Ryujin questline. And Ryujin questline is so fucking boring. Like, not even store brand Cyberpunk. Like, not off brand, not
Oh,
store brand.
oh,
Like, just
oh.
your coworker's shitty imitation. Like
I
they
don't.
made their own cookies.
I really don't know what I like least in this game. The cowboy LARP or the cyberpunk LARP. I really fucking hate both of them so much.
It was a bizarre creative decision, and it couldn't be more obvious why it happened based on the time period of
Yeah,
of what was coming out during development.
yeah.
And it was like it can't be more obvious that someone saw that really influential demo that Cyberpunk did and was like, we need to get on this. This is the direction that we need to go with Neon.
God, oh my
Or they
god.
played
And
Red
it's
Dead
like
2 and it's like, this is the direction we need to go. This is what we want to
it's
tap
like
into.
you get to
Well,
one one of the things I really fucking hate about Neon is like it's trying to be edgy, but Bethesda doesn't know how to do edgy.
yeah.
So it just comes across as just
I'm loving that a month later we had just full on sex scenes and nudity in Baldur's Gate
yeah.
3. And then you've got Bethesda here that's like, guys, we're a serious game. We've got drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Which Bear, in my opinion, they did drugs better in Fallout 4.
I know. Crazy, isn't it?
I felt like drugs were edgier in Fallout 4. They were definitely more fun to use.
I was going to mention, do you remember when Todd Howard said that the game was going to be very much like Red Dead Redemption
Yeah.
2 in terms of like how it played rather
Yeah.
than No Man's Sky? Which is an ironic thing. I don't remember there being like, 24 loading screens in Red Dead. I think I seem to recall that it was like an open world game
Yeah.
where like you could actually go to places.
Yeah,
Like
you could just get on your horse and seamlessly walk from one end of the map to the other.
like I did in a episode of LARP. I think
You did,
that's
I
a
did.
good point. You know how LARP always has like a thing of me just walking through the world?
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that for Starfield because there's too much fast travel. I would have to just like sit down on a planet and go end to end, and it's like cool. It's like a generic proc gen wasteland. It's like you could have done this in Space Engine.
And you won't even get the benefit of crossing multiple biomes or something.
I know that's
Some
an important part
landing
of it. Like
some landing spots, some landing zones can cross biomes,
really,
but yeah,
I
I found that last night.
I have
Specifically
not seen that.
coastal ones, you can get different biomes there.
I have not seen that. I
but
landed on a lot of planets.
yeah, few and far between for sure. Very. Oh my
Well,
god.
listen,
Oh
it's
my.
trying to be special when you find it.
There's so many things that would make exploration better in Starfield and outpost building and stuff. Like, why am I scanning all of these? Why should I scan planets? Because once I scan a planet, there's no way for me to refer back to that information except fly to that fucking star system again. There's
Yeah,
no
there's no way to
like,
search planets.
yeah, there's no codex where I can sit there and just type in, all right, give me all my planets with like aluminum, chlorine, and nickel on it.
Mm.
And just give me a list of all the ones. Like,
Well,
that
and
would be
how hard it is
useful.
to make bases that produce multiple resources.
Oh my, this.
So it's like there's no point in trying to find a planet that has like all of the resources you want because
Yeah,
you're not going to get even a quarter of them.
which
Like,
is hilarious because usually the ones that have like multiple like resources and stuff that you're going to want, they make it more difficult to build on it because it's going to have like some sort of, like hazard or something, so you need a certain level of outpost or habitation or whatever building. So it's like, okay, so those are skill locked and everything, but there's no point in me building on a building an outpost that's going to generate multiple different resources anyways. So I might as well just build this on an airless rock with one resource on it, rather than dealing with. So I don't have to get any of those habitation perks. There's so many. Oh my god, there's so many perks in that game too.
like I said, so many mandatory perks that you
Yeah,
have to take.
I feel like I just want to console command all of those in, just all the ones that are related to research and everything like that.
Mm.
I'll be
Yeah, and it's pointless because the game's super easy and
well. Yeah,
modding things
that's
is
what
like
it
super optional.
that's what it comes down to as well.
So it's
Is
like,
you do all of this work, or you can just completely ignore it.
listen,
Like, I wasn't
my
even.
character in universe is a researcher. That's why I need the research perks.
Yeah, my my character is a speech character, so that's why I'm picking up speech perks. And
Well,
she's a
see,
surveyor. She was an explorer, so she's getting like.
whoa! You're dissing some of the perks there that have utility value. Come on, go dog on stealth perks.
Oh, I haven't even picked up any of the stealth perks. I haven't. I think everything that is in the, what is the last one on the left? Fitness,
Physical.
physical. Yeah, I think that entire fucking, it's all a waste.
Some of it's a waste. Bumping up your carry weight is novel. What else is there? I grabbed the first rank of stealth just so that I could have the stealth meter again.
Ah, okay.
That was kind of useful,
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't. I never really bothered with stealth anything. Like, I was
Well,
doing
you haven't
Crimson.
done Ryujin. Ryujin has the most like stealth content.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because they were like, even during like the Crimson Fleet stuff, I was just walking through the like, just walking
Well,
through everything.
that's the weird thing about the Crimson Cringe questline is like it's somewhere between like a stealth campaign and just a walk around talk to people campaign.
Yeah.
It is very boring, especially if you play by the rules, the sysdef rules.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking boring.
Oh yeah. I was my genocide run. I was actually going to try to abide by Yusef. I was going to try and side with him in the end, but I just could not be fucked to do the. It was, there were two like serious gatekeepers to that quest line. It was the Siren of the Stars quest on the ship, and then the military outpost one where you have the Juan, the smuggler, get you onto the
Yeah.
station. Those two, I remembered like having to do those quests and how long they take to do them like correctly. I was just like, I fuck
You
that.
know
No.
Emil was laughing to himself going, they're gonna blow their one rule violation on this Starliner, and then they're gonna have to play along the rules on the
Yeah.
UC thing.
Uh I I used my murder pass on the one where you go to Neon to steal the grid technology, because it's clear that in order to get through that whole thing, you get through that dungeon, you have to stealth a decent amount. And I just refuse to even like enter stealth mode. I refuse to even hit left control. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm going to shoot everybody here instead. Because my character does not sneak. So I'm going to blow my cover anyways. I might as well just go in guns blazing. So I used my murder pass on that one.
It's a kind of embarrassing quest line.
It's a fucking awful quest line. Holy shit. So much, and it's like so much like good assets and stuff like that, like the siren of the stars, like that's a really cool interior and everything, just being utterly wasted on a fucking piss poor quest. Jesus,
imagine getting one up by Whodunit.
Yeah.
Like Whodunit ends the same way every time, but it's got like 16 ways it can play out.
Yeah.
And like you've got two ways it can play out, and the other way is whether or not you grab the earth medal.
Yeah.
Like so it's not playing out differently, it's just you're choosing to do the optional objective. It's very backwards in terms of like quest complexity. No, there's so much potential, but I think that the refusal to listen to criticism and the lack of a central design document and just low ambition.
Yeah. It's funny, like I keep seeing people going back and forth on what like how ambitious Starfield is. Everybody's like, this is, or not everybody. Some people are saying this is the most ambitious game Bethesda's ever done, and you have other people saying like this game has absolutely no ambition.
It's perfectly designed to trick you into thinking it's bigger than it is. I thought about bringing this up like a second ago, but I am going to. I've seen a lot of posts of people like, there's so much that you can do in this game, and they'll like recount like, I found this note that took me to this dungeon where I found the Mantis ship and got a superhero uniform, and then I went to New Atlantis and got a bounty and like was recruited into SysDef to do the Crimson Fleet quest line. And there's so much that you can do, and it's like it's front loaded to like shotgun the content at you as fast as possible.
Yeah. And
like it just continually adds quests to your quest log just for being like even anywhere near it.
Yeah, so a lot of the quests are just like go to this location, pick up this item, and bring it back. There's a lot of fetch and delivery quests, which I'm fine with. Like I saw people complaining like, oh, all the NPCs have like little like fetch delivery quests, and it's like, yeah, the hustle fucking the gig economy strong in this in this setting.
True.
I'm fine with that. I would like a way to just get rid of those things out of my quest journal, but sure.
If they could expire, because remember, this is a universe where you can reset everything.
Yeah.
So if you miss your opportunity to do a quest, like I think there's a quest you can do where there's like a Freestar ambassador at the dock, but like you only get one shot to pick up the quest. So it's I don't know much about it. I'm sure he's like an NPC somewhere that you could talk to and pick up wherever. But like you get one shot and then like it expires and like cool, whatever. But
so I think there's a combination of that, a lot of those like little miscellaneous odd job type things going on. You got the mission boards and like a lot of Radiant content. And then you have all the quests front loading themselves while you're still completely just like fish out of water. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to lock picking or whatever else. You're trying to learn all these systems and everything. So it's just like sensory overload.
Well,
so what I imagine people are going to realize if they go and do like a second playthrough and stuff, you know, months down the line, like after you, I would be interested in doing like taking a break for like a month or so and then coming back and doing a second playthrough and seeing just how much content I feel like there actually is in this game.
Well, I was thinking, I don't think we're neurodivergent enough to enjoy this game. This game is ADHD core.
Yeah.
Because it's constantly really throwing things at you.
Yeah.
And like trying to overwhelm you with the amount of content it has. And people see that as a positive, and I guess it could be a positive, but like they're being tricked into thinking that the game is much bigger than it is. And nothing exposed it more than like I reached the end of the Ryujin quest line, I'm like, so I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I knew at that point that House Faerun wasn't a thing, that I was not going to be seeing the faction that I was kind of most interested to see. And I was at the end and I was like, I guess all I have left is like miscellaneous side quests. And I start like going around trying to do side quests. And I was looking at lists of like what people are recommended to do and going to them and being like, this is awful. This quest sucks. This quest sucks. There wasn't a single like major side quest that I thought was engaging in any way. It's insane how many people are praising that Mantis side quest. Because it felt like a Fallout 76 dungeon.
It was yeah. It was a Fallout 76 dungeon and a Fallout 3 quest.
Yeah.
Literally, there's a quest in Fallout 3 that's very similar to this one. It feels like that quest just put into Starfield.
And I think the only reason it's on a lot of people's lists is because everybody sees it. Because it just gets forcibly like
if you're killing like mercs or whatever, you'll pick up a holotape that tells you to go to that location, and then bam, you're on it. I got it because I was doing bounties to kill pirates. My first fucking bounty to go kill a pirate, he had the thing on him. So I read it and I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to continue to do like some pirate bases, so I'll follow this up. And then I ended up doing that, and then get the super powerful fucking ship and armor and stuff, which carried me until I got the Starborn stuff. It's been fascinating, the armor progression in this game, because I keep getting like I barely wore any like normal sets of armor. I had the Mantis armor, which was definitely best in slot until Starborn armor.
Yeah.
And then Starborn armor is just the downside to Starborn armor is that it can't be upgraded, but I don't have any of the fucking upgrades to install into it anyways. So
yeah, the game throws 3-star legendary armor pieces at you, and it seems like the physical damage progression is so slow that like you can pretty much wait until like the scripted moment in various quest lines that you're given sets of armor.
Yeah.
And it is because there's no central design document, this is not a consistent thing. So like the Freestar Ranger quest line at the end will give you a set of armor, but there's no like legendary effects on it. And so it's like, this is worthless. This is worthless, and it looks stupid because you guys put leather on a spacesuit. But like the UC Vanguard questline gives you a really, really strong set of armor for a quest. And it was like, that carried me for a long time. And then I replaced it with the Nishina questline gives you like 2 pieces of a spacesuit and a helmet that are both 3-star legendaries.
Yeah, I think.
And that replaced it. And then the Starborn armor, of course, is like,
if somebody's gonna do like a crazy mod or something like that, if somebody really wants to go insane, they got to do a total like item rebalance. See, because that's kind of the problem with this game, is like everything is so fundamentally fucked that if you're gonna do like if you're gonna rebalance all the skills and all the perks and everything like that, then you have to rebalance all the equipment. And if you're going to rebalance the equipment, well, now you have to rebalance the fucking combat. It's like everything is so out of whack that it's just like...
I think that last year there was probably an initiative to like, we got to monetize modding in some way. And then they were like evaluating the state of the game, and they were like, we can't monetize modding because Starfield's legacy is very much going to rely on modding to fix it. Like, this is a game that is waiting to be bailed out by modding.
Yeah. And the question is if people are even going to be bothered to fuck with that, because there's so much work that needs to get done to fix a lot of this shit. That's just
the problems are too foundational.
Yeah, that too.
Like, I, as a consumer, am looking at it like, I don't want to spend 10 hours setting up all of the mods that are going to be necessary to fix this broken piece of shit.
Yeah, it's like, I can't even be bothered to mod the game. How are the modders going to feel actually making the fucking mods then?
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm a modder, I'm going to be like, so, I could spend the next 200 hours making a mod for Starfield. Or I could install a game engine and spend 200 hours making a video game and actually be able to sell it at the end of all this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, modding Skyrim was much simpler, because the Foundation is much more competent to actually build something off of.
Yeah.
Whereas Starfield is such an incompetent and inconsistent foundation that just like step one is building the foundation.
Yeah, so with like Skyrim, I feel like most of my mods were actually just visual mods.
Yeah.
Which hilarious that Starfield at launch I have to install a mod just to get rid of the ugly filtering across like everything because it was so fucking bad that I was literally getting a headache by the end of my first night from playing it.
Well, so they did the patch where they added HDR and brightness and contrast and all that, and I'm like, that's good, that's nice and all, but there's no. It doesn't seem like there's a saturation option, so the world is still going to be.
Is that in yet? I think.
Isn't that what they just patched?
No. They were just announcing that they're going to be doing like FOV slider and everything.
But yeah, they said they were going to do brightness and contrast and.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is in photo mode you can do all that.
Oh yeah.
That's what I showed you was like. Because you can do a direct before after comparison, which you can in Reshade too, but like you can do a before after comparison of
it exists right there in the game.
Yeah,
so
it's a base feature that you can play with these settings and like, oh no, they made this game look like shit.
Yeah,
for no reason, and it does look bad.
I'm guessing it has to do with like they didn't want to make areas too dark for people who have like, bad monitors and TVs and stuff, or if they're playing in a room with all the lights turned on.
Yeah. Well, it's like no central design document, and so nobody was told like what the average level of light in dungeons should be. Yeah. And so I think that like at some point in development they were playing it and it's like, this is too dark. A lot of these dungeons are too dark and it's too foundational of a problem for us to fix up. So let's just
know what's too dark? Ships. So like I turned it because I got them on and everything and I made everything a lot darker. So I get in my ship sometimes and I have to turn on my flashlight.
Well, the weird thing too is you can't customize the interiors of ships.
Yeah.
And you can't preview what the interiors are going to look like of the modules.
Yeah.
And so like you've got this interesting system. I'm not going to say it's good. I'm going to say it's interesting. You got this interesting system of designing ships. And then it's like, please don't look at the interior because it's god awful. It's like, sure, I'm sure that you made the fucking Serenity in Starfield. It's not on the inside. What's it look like on the inside? Because I guarantee it's nothing like what's in the show.
Yeah. Well, the inside's a bunch of corridors and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which it's like, I have that end game ship that I've sent you pictures of. That I hated that ship. I spent a long time designing a ship that I hated because it had multiple levels. And so my companions would be like on the far end of the ship. And of course, it doesn't auto connect doors everywhere that doors can connect. It just kind of picks places to put the doors. And so there was a module that to walk from the cockpit legit was probably like 200 meters away because of how like windy and snaky the path you had to take to get to this module. That was like less than 10 meters on the outside from each other. And it was just because like it just generates this pathway to get through the ship. And of course I always had at least one companion who wanted to hang out there.
Uh-huh.
It was like, this is Andrea's dark corner of edgy sadness.
All my companions loved hanging out right next to the docking section, which is like, it was like the butthole of my ship.
Vasco loved the armory because he could block the doorway there.
But I had like a living quarters section. I had like crew quarters section, like all these different things. And it's like, no, where everybody wanted to hang out in was in the docking section, which is just like a tiny room with like 2 crates in it. And I literally have a screenshot of Sarah sitting on a crate. And it's like, I have a room with like beds and like a couch and all this shit. And you're sitting on a crate next to the door. Not even the main entrance. This isn't the loading dock. The loading dock's like below deck. No, this is just so like if we dock against like another starship or something like that.
Well, and we should say something that we know, which is that the shipbuilder was made by a team at Bethesda Dallas that like specializes in alternate game modes. So it's not like a core thing that was in the game. So its quality was just in the air. That's why it's like radically different UI wise and kind of gameplay wise to the rest of the game. And then I don't know who did the ship interior stuff, but it doesn't click very well. And I love there's something that resets ship interiors, so all the clutter comes back and floods your cargo hold. And
that's what a fucking nooby trap that is.
All of the guns get taken off of your displays.
Nice.
So I was trying to set up a weapon rack of like just old Earth AKs. My ship interior would keep resetting, and so like it would just get dumped into the cargo hold.
Were you like switching home ships or something?
No, anytime you do any kind of upgrade for your ship.
Oh my fuck!
Which is often, of course.
Yeah, of course.
All the doors close too.
Yeah.
Which on a ship that has a ton of modules that I have to snake my way through is very inconvenient. Like I understand there's a very cool and practical reason why the doors should close and all that in universe and setting. As a convenience feature, it's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
And not allowing people to customize the interiors is also a bad idea.
That's the most fascinating part, because like you would think like the ship is going to be the ultimate expression of the player, right? Like give us the ability. Yeah, it's your home. And give us the ability to customize the interiors and stuff, change the color of like things and everything. Everything's going to be sterile white. And
well, no, listen,
it's just going to have all this, like,
you can get dark steel if you buy the alternate version of that module.
Yeah. I don't know.
Believe me, I was very much thrilled when I found out that there's 5 module makers, but only 3 interior styles.
There was some interesting ideas in there. There's some stuff in there that I thought was pretty cool.
Very emblematic of the game. Interesting ideas surrounded by bad ideas.
Yeah.
And no cohesion between any of it.
Yeah, bad ideas, no cohesion, and ultimately pointless.
Yes.
Why am I gonna design a ship?
Listen, if you don't like ship combat, just grab jump out.
Yeah. Yeah, like why design a ship though if you could just buy a ship instead? That's probably gonna be more better design and everything. Because there's also like weird just when you're building a ship, you need to have like, X amount of power and stuff to power the modules and stuff. But there's all these weird issues that it'll tell you like, oh, this is an issue with your ship, but it doesn't explain how to fix it.
Yeah, weapon groupings was a big one for me. I could not figure out based on like what was on the screen how to actually assign a weapon grouping until I did figure it out eventually. So you don't have to explain
crew sizes and stuff. Like what actually dictates how many people I can have on my crew. Nothing in the UI tells you that. Nothing in the UI will tell you how many people you're actually going to be able to have on your crew, on your ship. And then you also need to have the leadership perks in order to even have you could build a ship that will support like 8 people, but you only have you're only going to be able to put 4 because you have no leadership
and
perks.
There's no reason not to bring people.
Yeah.
Like there are like you can get the introvert trait. I don't know if you can pick it up later in the game, but you can have the introvert trait and there's a skill for isolation that makes you do more damage if you have no crew, or like it doesn't stop at just no companion. It's straight up no crew. And like that's the only incentive to not have crew members. Very bizarre game. Very damaging on the psyche because like I said, it's ADHD core.
Yeah.
It's throwing stuff at you with such frequency. And as it has no chill.
Yeah. And as somebody like me, I love to figure out systems and create systems. Those are my favorite games. Is like any game that allows me to create my own systems and like organize things and create some sort of order within the chaos of the game itself. I love that shit. I live for it. And Starfield seems to hate me. It seems to be designed to drive somebody like me fucking insane. I'm trying to figure out how the game's meant to be played. I'm trying to get on the game's level and just figure out how am I supposed to engage with outpost building? What is the purpose here? What am I supposed to be doing with this system? And I can't figure it out. And it's driving me so fucking insane that I'm having an existential crisis and I have to take a melatonin and go to bed. That's that's the level of like fucked up this game is.
Yeah,
and I can't wait.
And then a ton of reviewers assume that it must be a good system because they didn't mess with it.
And I really can't wait for people to tell me, oh, the game's just not meant for you. The game's not designed for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I love fucking games I love space games. Elite Dangerous is one of my favorite games of all time. I consider it in my top 15, top 20 games.
Well, you're expecting a space sim. It's not a space sim. It's an RPG in space.
Which sounds even better, because one of my main issues, and this is why I'm probably going to start my video with this, is like one of my main issues with Elite Dangerous, and one of the reasons I haven't gone back to it in a while, is that it's a fucking steep ass learning curve because it's a space sim, and there's a lot of shit that you're gonna forget if you take a long break from it, and it becomes really daunting to go in. It's not a game that you just go in and pick up and just play for a few hours and then walk away. So when I'm looking at Starfield, I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. Like it's gonna be a somewhere between No Man's Sky, which I think is too casual for me, and Elite Dangerous, which is like space sim and just a bit too daunting sometimes for me to go in and play. That sounds awesome. That really does. And on top of which, it's going to be an RPG with like crafting, survival mechanics and stuff. You're like literally checking every single box for this game to be possibly my favorite game of all time. And I fucking hate it. Because it seems to just be a game designed to drive me insane.
Equal parts ambition and no ambition. Like, why are we still on the one main quest, 4 side quest lines thing?
Yeah.
That's bizarre that they went for that.
A main quest that just, it doesn't do anything until the end.
It's a main quest that's about a mystery, but it's supposed to be replayable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's like, it's a quest about knowledge, about learning stuff in a universe where it doesn't, there's so many fundamental issues for why that story sucks cock. And it's like, why does it, you have all of these artifacts all over the place that other people have discovered. You have other people exploiting the artifacts, but nobody's curious about the artifacts, and nobody's going out and collecting the artifacts.
Well, I think I told you the real problem in the universe isn't a lack of interest in figuring out the artifacts. It's a lack of security.
Yeah.
It's like all the places that were investigating artifacts like got wiped out by bandits.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's tons of like, it's really hard to put into words for people who haven't played the game to like really communicate the vibe of how what the world building in this game is like. But what it is these designers and these writers are given complete freedom to do whatever they want. It's not like Elder Scrolls or Fallout where they have considerations of past lore that they have to learn about. So they can write in this universe facts about it, whatever they want them to be. And someone sat down and said, grav drives create gravitational waves that can destroy a planet's magnetosphere and strip it of its atmosphere. They did that. Yep. They established that fact, and then they've had multiple colony wars, and they have like religious extremists that are out to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just one tweak to your grav drive.
And spacers,
just a software patch.
Spacers, people who are literally the scum of the space, basically. Yeah. They're just beholden to nobody whatsoever.
Listen, the Crimson Fleet has no interest in mechs or xeno weapons.
Man.
Or AI.
You know what I love is going into dungeons, seeing that they were like working on a mech.
Yes.
But we see not a single functioning mech in
It's very obvious that the Freestar Collective questline is supposed to end with a boss battle with a mech that they canceled out on. Because it ends up just being a boss battle with some guy. And it's just like an old guy. Like, that's their boss battle. It makes sense in the context that it's leading up to a mech fight that they had to cut because and for no reason. Because Fallout 76 has large raid style boss enemies.
Yeah.
I don't buy for a second that they couldn't have gotten a mech working if they wanted to. So why there isn't at least one mech boss fight in this game? Like, why establish that mechs were a thing at all?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like some art guy probably thought it was cool. He's like into Gundam or something.
And Yeah, and somebody was like, we're not gonna
We don't
bother.
we don't have a place for these assets, and it's like,
yeah.
Emil, can you write something where like there's mechs in the universe? Sure. They were like this old tech from a war that happened 20 years ago, and everybody agreed that they were too destructive, so everybody put them into an archive that's in the capital city of one of the faction that lost the war. So it's like World War II happens, and they all agree that like biological weapons and chemical weapons and all this stuff, and like tanks, like the technology for airplanes, needs to be locked up into an archive, and we're gonna put the archive in Berlin.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Oh, and the Nazis are still around. It's like, why would anybody agree to this? Why would they put the archives in the capital city of one of the factions, the one that lost? Like, there's some pretty foundational questions about how this whole archive of weapons of mass destruction thing works, and you have to remember that it ultimately boils down to the reason why is because they wanted a quest where you visit the archive. That's it.
Well, that's was going to be one of my questions is, do you think the grav drives destroying planets, magnetospheres and stuff, was that something that they always intended, or was it just like, we need an explanation for why Earth is fucked up?
There are multiple world building things in that quest that make no fucking sense in context of the rest of the quest line. It's very obvious that there was not like a design document that said that any of that. And so it's just some rogue designer that established multiple things about the setting that don't make sense. So I think a couple key things. There was a Starborn that forced humanity to invent the grav drives.
Yeah.
So so there's foundational facts about the universe that can be set by Starborn in the past. We as Starborn don't get to influence because our respawn date, I guess, is just 2330.
Yeah. Yeah, it introduces so many of these.
Starborn isn't around. We never meet that Starborn.
No.
I don't think. Because it's the Starborn incarnation of that Victor guy, right?
Yeah. He says he meets himself, and which, bear in mind, this like flies against everything that we understand as Starborn, where like he met him and he just had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
For 12 days, and that's like that explained everything that he needed to know.
Yeah, and that's how grav drive technology was invented. It wasn't that humanity came up with the technology. There was divine interference, which is a paradox. So I guess the implication is that, I don't know, maybe humanity took like 5,000 years to figure it out, and then like a Starborn came back and like gave the gift of technology, but like
but from our own experience,
why would the Starborn
and everyone that we've interacted with, we don't travel backwards in time. We just reset.
You go to a new universe.
Yeah, you just go to a new universe.
But the question is, why would the Starborn care to do that? As far as we've seen, the Starborn are willing to just like wait out the inevitable point in the universe where the artifacts get collected.
Yeah.
And so like if there was some point 5,000 in the year 5,000 where all the artifacts get collected and the Unity is formed and the Starborn are created, they're not going to like speed up the technological progression of humanity just so it gets done faster. They are immortal like space beings. They're just going to wait until the artifacts are collected, like they do in every other universe. So that doesn't make sense. It flies in the face of the rest of the story. And then they established that like they established the thing about the grav drives basically being like the most destructive piece of technology that humanity has. And it's just like one software patch away. Like, thank God there was never a bug with the grav drives where one of the factions figured out that like, oh yeah, we can just do this and strip planets' magnetospheres.
Yeah.
We could just destroy planets.
Well, no, you see, it took years of that and hundreds of grav jumps on the moon in order to do it. So nobody would be bothered to create some underground facility that would look like it's abandoned from the surface, because, dude, there's so many abandoned like facilities and stuff in this game, and it just makes me wonder.
But
Yeah.
another thing is like apparently there's billions of humans that got evacuated from Earth. Like the rest of the game sets up that like Earth was destroyed and probably like a couple 100,000 people got off world. And so like that's why humanity's scale is so small in the settled systems. And then you do this one quest that contradicts everything else, and it's established that like no billions of people got off the planet.
Yep.
It's just that easy. And that's what I mean by a lack of a central design document. I think narratively that quest at NASA is like, which is supposed to be a big deal.
Yeah.
It's one of the quests that no matter how you replay it, you don't do it if you skip the main quest, but if you replay the main quest, no matter what you do, you have to do the NASA quest.
Yeah.
You also have to do the Slayton quest, which I love that they make you redo that quest line and it can't play out any differently. You can't be like, hey, so this guy's going to trap us in an elevator. Which is like,
so
it's weird because there's a thing where you can hack the elevator controls and get access to the executive suite, but you can't actually use it.
I think it's bugged.
You think it's bugged?
I think so.
I think they started to implement it and kind of got bored.
Maybe.
Or like they felt that the sequence was so strong with the being told what vents to go in.
Yeah. Oh my God. Which I promptly ignored.
Listen, this has strong Cyberpunk Act 1 Arasaka heist vibes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great sequence. Cut that elevator thing out, okay? Players are going to want to redo this. The Scow quest line? No, we'll throw in a way that they can skip the Scow quest line. Why would they want to replay that? The mission that actually can play out.
I was really surprised when I found out that whole quest was getting skipped.
Yeah.
The quest that I actually wanted to replay.
I think you can redo it. You just have to not warn Constellation of the attack.
Yeah, you just have to let somebody die.
Just let it happen. You know, whatever. You don't give a shit. Just reset the universe if you like them so much. It's interesting finding out that the companion who dies in your first universe is contingent on like it's the companion that likes you the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like somebody I knew had Sam die.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you should read the things I send you. There's so much about this game I've told you that. Granted,
yeah, I didn't.
Listen, it makes sense. We send each other like 25 messages while we play. We're just ranting. Because that's what this game kind of like boils down to.
It's just a bunch of disparate ideas and stuff that... Yeah, I got to start. Definitely today I'm going to start I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to brainstorm. I'm just going to write everything that comes to mind down. And I'm going to start to organize it and everything. And then I got to go through and review all my footage. But...
You think you're done?
In terms of...
Oh no, you're missing out on the Vanguard questline.
I'll probably play the major
Listen, you gotta find out how the
lines.
heat leeches are actually terrormorphs.
Really?
That's the big twist, yeah.
Interesting.
Not really. It's actually pretty boring.
I didn't realize how much I wanted this game to be good until last night, where I was really fucking disappointed with just how miserable like exploration and stuff. Because I was holding out hope for that, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd been playing this game, I assumed wrong. Because I was going in with like a serious agenda of like, all right, I got to get this done. I got to get that done. All right, I want to do like grind this shit out. Like I'm trying to meta game here and play up. But last night I was like, all right, everything's off the table and stuff. Let's just let the game take me for a ride, which is how I played it originally, like in the beginning as well. And that's one of the things I intended to do is like, I got into the game and I just, for like the first 3 days, I just let the game take me for a ride. But I was so lost. I was so confused and everything that I really have I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with that footage. But then I started going through B-roll. And just like systematically, yeah, it's pretty much going to be B-roll and stuff. A lot of like silly clips, I guess. But like then I started going through systematically, like, all right, main quest stuff. Let's knock this out and everything, blah, blah, blah. Then last night I was finally like, all right, I have a lot of that stuff. I have like knowledge now. I have like about 100 hours worth of knowledge of this game and stuff. Now let's try and play the game again how it's intended to be played. And I was just so fucking like, just the soul got sucked out of me. And I realized at that point how much I was holding out hope that returning back to the game and like actually giving it a shot, like a serious shot at like impressing me, how much hope I was placing in that. So like, give me something, please. Something that I could just enjoy.
I think the interesting thing was me having the realization that I didn't have the expectations. I'd been kind of like gaslit into thinking that I had high expectations.
I didn't have high expectations. I didn't really have expectations at all. I had
No, I didn't
hope.
either.
Not
I didn't
hope,
have
but
hope.
like
So that's where we differ.
it wasn't hope. I had low expectations, but I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to surprise me. And that was the disappointing part, because I know what people are going to say, like criticizing me, is that I was going into this game wanting to hate it, and I went in with an agenda, and that like the game wasn't designed for me. And it's like, no. First off, the game was designed for me. Well, on paper, it was designed for me. And I went in wanting to play a game like this. Like I leading up to this, I was actually excited to play this game, because I was like, I'm in the mood for a game like this. What they're advertising and stuff, I really want to play something like this. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And the game just doesn't exist. Like the game that I wanted just straight up doesn't exist here.
Remember, this is the game that Todd Howard's always wanted to make. Complete creative license on how they were going to do it. They don't have to casualize mechanics.
So fascinating.
They don't have to casualize mechanics to sell copies, because like
they have a blank check from Microsoft anyways. Like there's
like a common deal that gets made in filmmaking where you make like a shitty schlock movie for a studio, and then they give you a blank check to make the movie that you actually want to make. This was supposed to be that for Bethesda. Like Fallout 4 is phoned in because it was, Starfield was in the back pocket.
Was it phoned in though? That's what I want to know now at this point, because Fallout 4 feels like a much more cohesive, just a much better designed product.
Well, it's the continual progression from the continual slipping away from the design document.
Yeah. the continual rebellion against it.
Yeah, the more free form that they became, the less cohesive everything was going to be tied together, and of course it was.
Yeah,
and it's made by more people than ever. There's hundreds of people that worked on this game. There's 31 producers.
Yeah.
There's so many like disparate ideas. I mean, they have studios in 4 places across the country that and they'll just have some satellite studio cook up a feature set, and that's why like mission boards were made by a completely different team.
And they have people who can make decisions there saying, we don't want to make decisions. We encourage everybody to put their ideas in.
Yeah.
We don't want to shoot down.
It's too laissez-faire.
Yeah. There's no leadership.
Yeah. You go around letting people do whatever they want and not having a central design document, and then you throw in a curveball like COVID into the development process, and it's like, I can see why you guys had problems making it fun until 2022.
I mean, I would argue that they never found.
Well, that's the wild part. Is like all of the indie projects I follow, the very first thing they do is they make the game fun, and then they build the content out from that.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about this, like the idea of like the way you want to design a game really from the ground up, and it's like, during pre-production, there's like that saying of like most games are just like a minute of fun dragged out over the course of the entire experience, just repeated. And that's kind of what it is like when you're doing pre-production stuff, you do gray boxes, you do like small like vertical slice and stuff. You do a lot of testing to find like, all right, what's the core of this game? What is it like we really expect players are going to gravitate towards, and how do we then build an experience around that? And Starfield feels like they never found that. They just started building a game, and they're like, it'll come about because, that's how our games are, right? People are just able to go and do whatever they want.
I'm thoroughly convinced Todd has something about that where he says that like there's a point in development where all the mechanics just come together.
Yeah.
And so I think that as a developers, they were taking for granted that they got lucky that their mechanics even somewhat cohesively came together in the past, and really didn't.
Yeah.
If you look at Skyrim and how its magic system works.
Yeah.
Like there's no cohesion between magic in Skyrim versus combat and stealth.
No.
And
between like shouts and magic exists. Like they overlap too much.
Yeah.
It's like
there's
one
systems that were
cannibalizes the
created
other.
independently and then
Yeah.
like forced to play together. And so
Y-
they're very reliant on these systems like coming together. And I don't think they realize how much
Luck played into that, and also just like a good, well-designed game world.
like a design document. I think
Yeah.
comes into it too. So you have no design document, and you have like a bunch of disparate teams, some of whom like are working from home now or like completely across the country.
Yeah.
And you have Emil running around saying, "No, the game is the design document. If you want to know how it works, just go play the game." And it's like, "Oh, I only work 40 hours a week, Emil. Like, how much time this week do you want me to spend playing the game versus like, to playing the game to get an answer to a question that like should be just written down." There's like Bethesda magic where they expect in development that it'll all come together. And I think Starfield, for the longest time, I don't think it ever came together.
No.
I think, and that makes me very curious to play the build of the game where they didn't think it was fun. Like, what was different that like what wasn't working?
Yeah, what got tweaked and stuff? Maybe the mechs got cut.
The mechs just didn't work.
Yeah,
I don't buy for a second. I don't buy it for a second.
Because they have robots that you fight in that game, and it's just like just make a bigger robot.
I think it was like probably ship fuel and
yeah. Which is interesting to see still in the game. Like you build fuel tanks on your ship and everything. Like they didn't cut it out root and stem. They just like basically went in and just I edited the thing so that it just doesn't account.
Yeah, you can't run out of fuel. It's not the thing that has a quantity on your ship. It just dictates how far you can jump.
Yeah, which you already have a module that does that. So
yeah, so it seems like a redundant mechanic, which only exists if you're jumping end to end in the system.
Yeah.
And so like you spend like 1,000 credits on the biggest fuel tank and then never worry about it again. Like,
yeah,
it's sad. And they talked about having mechanics where it's like, oh, I ran out of fuel. I need to ask for help. And like,
yeah,
you're at the mercy of whoever shows up. And there's Radiant events that play out like that.
Yeah.
Which was funny. Because I had one where like a school bus full of kids.
Yeah.
So I had that event happen. And I said, I'm in the Crimson Fleet. And they're like, oh, well, our grav drive works now, and they jump away. And it's like, oh, so you guys weren't actually broken down. I'm sure that, like, it's just completely bungled. That felt like an interaction where they added the faction check after the fact.
I think I was in the Crimson Fleet when I got that. You're talking about the one where like they jump in and like the teacher's giving like a tour basically.
No, there was one where they were like broken down. And they were asking for help with like fixing their grav drive.
Oh, okay.
So they're asking for ship parts, but then the ship's magically fixed.
Yeah, because I had one where similar setup. School teacher, a bunch of kids, maybe, and like their thing was that their grav drive just took forever to spool up. But there was like there was like one of the kids was wondering if there were pirates out there, and the teacher's like, "No, there's no pirates." And I tell him,
"No,
I'm like,
the same event. I thought the grav drive was broken. Maybe it was just spooling up. Maybe I misinterpreted the event."
Oh, because like there was a point where I said like, "Yeah, I'm a pirate," and like the teacher was just like, "Oh, you got a funny sense of humor," like kind of annoyed. And then their grav drive takes forever to spool up, so she starts like making small talk with me over the radio.
Yeah, as soon as I told them I was a pirate, she like freaked out and jumped away.
Interesting, because was it a Crimson Fleet check?
Yeah,
I didn't have a Crimson Fleet check. Mine was just like, no, I'm a pirate.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were like redundant lines like that. I mean, it all feels like post hoc additions.
Yeah,
like you play the main quest and you get this feeling like, oh, this whole new game plus thing and like all the Starborn checks. Oh, that was probably added in like year 4. It's probably like someone's pet project, and it's like, no, we started that from the beginning, and it's like, well, it doesn't come off like that. Everything in this game comes off like you stapled it on late in production.
Yeah, like you guys spent the first 3 years just trying to get the game to run, and then the last year was just getting things to function and like just slapping things together.
Yeah, I felt like you had a combat engine, and then like everything's stapled onto that combat engine.
Yeah. Including exploration. I think that's the most fascinating. I think a lot of my reviews going to be focused on just exploration because
it's what you did a lot of.
Yeah, I did a lot of that, and also that's always been like the core competency of Bethesda, and to see it so badly fucked up in
Fallout
Starfield.
76's strength was its world design.
Yeah.
So like it's just a fundamentally baffling decision, and I don't think that they're happy with it.
No,
I'm very skeptical of the idea that they're happy with how it turned out.
It's just fascinating though, and I think like that's gonna be my thesis, is like Starfield was a bad idea from the get-go and should not have gotten past the pitch phase, because they should have sat down and been like, well, how do we translate our core competency?
Robert Altman's like a fucking patron saint for Bethesda. The guy was a menace when it came to all of his other business decisions, but like he was a true patron of the arts when it came to just accepting whatever Bethesda's bad ideas were. And so it's like you could come up with a pitch which is literally just what they're gonna name it, and like get him to say yes to that, and it's like, okay, he really didn't care what they were bringing him.
It's just I think that's the most fascinating part about this game, is that they abandoned the one fucking thing that they had left. The one thing that almost everybody, even its staunchest...
So they had two things left, exploration and music, and both of them aren't very good in this game. Amazingly. Defying the odds. 25 years of legacy where those were the two things that they nailed, that everybody will say they nailed. Like, people don't like Morrowind's combat, but they'll still admit that its exploration and music is good. Or people don't like Oblivion's mechanics and stories, but they'll still say that the exploration and music is good.
Yeah,
and like even every single game through to Fallout 76, they'll say
Fallout 76.
At least the exploration and music are good. And then you got
even the dungeons in Starfield are a step down from what they were in Fallout 76. That's what's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
well, it's the repetition. They could easily have a system where they ensure that you don't repeat until you run out of dungeon types. Because I thought I just ran out of dungeon types. So I went out of my way to like search out a random dungeon.
Yeah.
And I found a new type, and it was like, oh, so you're not out of types. You're just, you just are lazy.
The system just spawns, like, if you find an abandoned mine, you found all the abandoned mines. If you found a abandoned research outpost cryo facility, it's just like one facility tied to that spawn type.
You know, it's crazy. They didn't go in the Radiant dungeon direction.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're handcrafted dungeons, but like they feel like Radiant dungeons. They feel like they came up with tile sets that could be just generated on the fly.
And it's down to the most, like, even the loot spawns are exactly the same. Like the digipix will spawn in the exact same fucking
same spot, same configuration.
Yeah.
You have the same named NPC corpse in one of the artifact dungeons.
Yeah.
You run into every time.
There's a corpse in a dumpster in one of those dungeons, and Sarah will always stop and point out, like, what a sad waste of life.
Yeah.
On that exact same corpse, and and it's like just fascinating.
Remember, they focused on the companions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show.
No. Did you romance anyone?
I romanced Andrea.
Okay. I haven't romanced anyone.
Which felt dirty. It felt dirty. I felt like I was getting Emil's sloppy seconds. Because she has so many lines that are meta where she'll comment on, like, I wonder if the nature of the art has been changed by it being, you know, iterated upon, and if this was the original vision of the artist. And it's like, okay, that's Emil saying that. That's not Andrea saying that. There's other meta lines she has where it's like, I feel like this only raises more questions than answers. And it's like, that's what the story does.
Yeah. Well, that's what the story is designed for. Todd Howard did an interview with NPR recently, and that was like the big takeaway from that interview was,
which is fucking bizarre because we're not getting a Starfield sequel for a decade.
Yeah.
So Starfield not being like a self-contained package.
If Starfield even gets a fucking sequel, let's be honest here.
Oh no, wait, they're gonna get DLC, of course. Who the creators are is gonna be.
They'll never fucking answer that. But Well, it's not even just that. There's like just questions that it's trying to bring up about like spirituality and everything. And it's just like, it doesn't stick with any of its themes for more than like a conversation.
What they were hyping up with the religions was like basically religious quest lines. And then you play it and it's a single fucking quest. It's one of the most embarrassing quests they've made.
Yeah. That was literally like, if there weren't quest markers, I wouldn't know what the fuck is going on, because everybody just speaks. So it's not even like everybody's speaking in riddles. It's that they just speak in they give you no details or information on anything. And then the quest markers figure it out.
If you want me to answer the question of why I played this game and why I reviewed this game, hypothetical viewer, I am going to require an explanation of why Starfield even exists. And I mean, the answer, we know the answer. The answer is that they just wanted to make a sci-fi game, but they weren't married to it being a sci-fi game. And so it feels like little more than Fallout with, they could be naval ships for like, you know, like it's Pacific Islander Fallout or something like that. Like it's not really a space game, because everything that it does with space is just really weak, because they forgot that like, or they just weren't confident that zero-G combat was going to turn out. Like, no, you know, we're used to our engine. We know that many physics interactions would just be impossible for us to render.
Yeah.
We're not confident that the mode's going to turn out, so just don't make too much content that's reliant upon it. And then the programming wizards, there's stuff about this game on the programming side that's incredible. The amount of physics interactions that it can handle and maintain a steady frame rate. There's a lot more stability compared to Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
The loading screens are much shorter. Like I was saying multiple times during Starfield's marketing, I was like, if they fixed the loading screens and made them much shorter, Todd Howard should be on stage shirtless, like shouting, "Hey guys, the loading screens are 2 seconds."
Yeah.
So the fact that like that wasn't marketed is frankly bizarre. Like, why wouldn't you market that the loading screens are almost non-existent?
It goes back to just the marketing for Starfield being literally the worst marketing campaign I've ever seen for a game.
Yeah, it's this weird mix of trying to explain the game to people and not explaining the game to people.
Yeah.
I was writing about this. Why? So like Creed exists because Creed probably wasn't cut because it was shown in the marketing.
Yeah.
The Starfield Direct should have just been a vertical slice of like, here's how interplanetary travel works. Here's a dungeon. And then here's how inter-system travel works. And it's like, yes, it's going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of loading screens, and like that would have set people's expectations.
Yeah.
Instead, you have them like vaguely phrasing their wording around it to where there are people out there who will be like, oh, well, Todd Howard said all along that the game was going to be like this. And it's like, no, he really didn't. Like, there are a million ways that you could be more transparent about that's how the system works. And maybe that's what you should have showed at Gamescom instead of a closed behind doors pre-recorded demo of the intro.
That's fascinating. It really is fascinating what was going on with the marketing for this game. Because
well, the more you pay attention to it, like I love the narcissism of getting the senior management at Bethesda to praise their own game. Some of them praising their own department.
Yeah.
Or multiple minutes spent on showing merchandise that like nobody ever actually wears.
Yeah, like the Direct was an absolute failure at actually explaining what the game is like. I want to, you know what I might do? I might actually sit down and rewatch the Direct, like the most recent one. And now that I've actually played the game, and just see if
that could be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah. And just see like insight.
We'll sit down, we'll watch the Direct, and we'll watch a review.
Yeah.
We could we could watch party the Super Rad video.
Yeah, that one I will need moral support for.
I think that one's the tough one. It's either that or like Maddie Plays or TKS Mantis, like some of the super shills. Juicehead.
Yeah. Sebastian Banks. Does he ever come up? Like, does he ever?
Who?
The dude who founded Constellation and then disappeared.
Oh yeah.
and
it should
not Elon Musk even recites his speech at one point.
It shouldn't surprise you that I had no fucking clue who you were talking about. Hey, remember how Sarah has a mentor character that's actually still alive that I've yet to meet?
Oh, you can meet her if Sarah dies. She shows up at the funeral.
Oh, okay, that's how you meet her. I need to do 4 run-throughs of the main quest where I have a character die.
She did tell me at one point on my first playthrough, I did get a quest to go meet her with Sarah. So I think like you have to get Sarah's affinity up to a certain point, and then you can go meet her.
I was up to the point of romance, and I never got
what the fuck?
I never got like offered to go meet Asia.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was at the funeral at Sarah's.
Are you sure
funeral.
that it was to meet Asia and not to do Sarah's quest where she tracks down people that she abandoned 20 years ago and adopts a kid?
What? No, I didn't get any of that.
You didn't adopt a kid into Constellation, and then like the hilarious part is that like apparently the kid will complain that they have nobody their age to hang out with, even though Sam has a daughter named Cora, and the big conflict is that Cora lives on her ship.
Yeah,
and it's like there's every reason that Cora should live at the lodge now that there's a second girl her age being raised as a ward there.
Oh, I gotta play this.
Which is like it's fucking. Again, no design document. Whoever came up with Sam and his storyline wasn't talking to whoever was doing Sarah's storyline.
Yeah.
Which it'll be hilarious if we find out that it was the same person.
They forgot.
And they just forgot.
Well, I wrote that quest line 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I wrote Cora 2 years ago. What the fuck?
Yeah. No, it's hilarious. It's the Bethesda charm. Just forgetting elements of your own plot lines.
Forgetting elements of your plot line 5 minutes later too.
Yeah.
That's the most
because Sarah insists
on
adopting this kid and then stays on your ship. Like she's not even active in raising this kid that she adopts.
Nice.
Anything else?
I'm trying to think.
We need to get off our chest in the therapy session.
Dude, there's so much.
Yeah, just mentally decompressing. Like I was just laying in bed on day 9 while I was doing the reunion quest because I was sending you messages about dude, these quests are so boring.
Yeah.
Because literally the first 5 quests are Radiant missions.
What a good way to start off a quest, an entire quest line.
Mm-hmm. It's literally just I'm sure they're not literally Radiant missions, which is somehow worse. I would almost have more respect for it if they were legitimately just Radiant quests. Because it's hey, at least it could be different on different playthroughs. But it's it's a quest that comes off as being Radiant because once you get access to Ryujin's Radiant missions, they're exactly the same. You walk into a place where it's not considered trespassing and you just crouch down and hack into a terminal. And that's the quest.
Wow, that's some. Yeah,
it gets better. You need to put 40 hours into the game. It clicks together.
Well, man, so that's what I was
thinking. Did
Starfield
click for you?
Did it ever click? No. There were moments where
I was balls deep in New Game Plus at fucking 40 hours, so it can't have clicked.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing. Is any opportunity that it would have had to click, it got sabotaged by something like New Game Plus, or honestly, New Game Plus had a lot of destructive influence on the experience overall. I feel because it just made me not care about even the most basic things.
Well, I love that it's New Game Plus, but you don't get to reassign your traits. And so, one of the key things that you
can't reassign your traits. I think New Game Plus would benefit a lot if you could reassign traits and you could respec your character.
Yeah, because apparently picking the House of Arun trait has a lot of interesting dialogue.
Really,
that sounds cool, but I'd have to actually start a new character.
Yeah,
and I just don't have the time to start a new character over because it's not going to be anything interesting. I'm going to be reinvesting in the same mono build bullshit that you have to reinvest in.
It's going to I can imagine my dilemma of doing that, right? And it's going to be, when do I actually start recording?
Yeah, I guess that's you start recording, I guess it's like honestly you would be better off having a replay buffer and just replay buffering every like mouse over button line check.
Pretty much. Yeah. That's
a game
probably how
this is a game where there's going to be like compilations of all of the speech checks of the different like backgrounds.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have a ton of comments that are like, this game is so fucking it encourages so much replayability, and meanwhile I'm like, I don't want to play the game again.
Yeah.
But occasionally the NPCs have lines to acknowledge that I'm a member of Veyron. Like,
yeah, I feel there's a lot of discussions that I feel like I need to have with this video. The first thing is exploration for the sake of exploration is not really fun in a video game.
Yeah, because it's No Man's Sky's problem of character progression for the sake of character progression, just upgrading things to be better at upgrading things.
Yeah. I feel like the game was designed, and I feel like a lot of games are designed with the assumption that exploring a world in a game is in of itself intrinsically fun. And it's like, no, it's not. I hate to break it to people who think it is, but it really isn't. What makes it fun is that interaction of gameplay, character progression, storytelling, world building, and exploration. There needs to be other things to complement it. It's not like going out on a hike or landing. There's a great quote from, it was Pete Hines or Todd Howard. One of them said like, well, when the explorers on the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon, they weren't bored. So people shouldn't be bored playing our game, landing on empty worlds. And it's like, yeah, because they were in mortal danger the entire time.
Yeah, they spent 3 days being at the mercy and just praying that the people who did all the math did it correctly.
Yeah. And they were doing like experiments and stuff while they were up there and everything. And it was
I hate to break it to you,
culmination of like, years of development and like
astronauts are straight up a different breed of people.
Yeah, that too.
Like the mentality that you have to be an astronaut is like 3 parts mad scientist and 1 part adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a reason a lot of them were fucking like fighter pilots, and it's not just
we're fighter pilots or like went on to be like test pilots for various like civilian space programs.
Yeah, I got news for you. It's not just because they can handle the G-force. It's so I feel like there's a fundamental issue that a lot of games run into, and Starfield's by far the worst violator of it at this point, which is just like the idea that exploration in of itself is fun in a video game, and it's not. There has to be something else there to it. Otherwise, you're just making a walking simulator. And there are people who will die on the hill that walking simulators are fun and everything like that. But
well, it's the difference between Minecraft's creative mode and survival mode.
Yeah.
Where it's like there is a niche that creative mode can fill, particularly with like redstone or like the command blocks, where like you really get into exploring the game's mechanics. But like Minecraft is strong because of its survival mode. Yeah. And it's because it's placing restrictions upon the player and then like demanding that you come up with ways. And it's a very easy problem to solve. Minecraft is not a particularly challenging game, and not just because it's made for kids, right? Starfield is like, it is like, it feels like you're playing in creative mode. Like, I feel like if I turned on God mode and gave myself 10 million credits, that my experience with Starfield would not be considerably different.
I would just have a more expensive ship is basically it. Quicker.
Yeah, you would
basically it.
Pretty much the ship combat's like the only thing that changes in that hypothetical.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was running around with a shotgun that one-shot every enemy in the game on hard.
I remember on my reset, I still haven't come across a gun that was this fucking overpowered. But on my first reset, I got a handgun that did like, I would have to look at the footage. I think it did like 100 something damage, but it was at like, I was at like level 30 or something. Yeah. Level 20 or level 30. So I was literally just walking through, killing everything in one shot. I would shoot people in the legs and they would die.
Yeah.
And like boss fights was just like 2 or 3 shots.
And it's so much RNG too, because I was playing Malcolm Reynolds. Like this is the game where it makes sense to do the Malcolm Reynolds stink test. And Malcolm Reynolds uses pistols. Almost never used any because no good ones ever dropped.
I was always using shotguns. Like almost every universe I played, I was using shotguns because those were the ones that shotguns were just good out of the gate to begin with, and then I just kept getting like good legendary ones as well. Occasionally, I got like a good
I'd
pistol.
really be curious what the behind the scenes like programming for how they came up with the legendary drop systems for this game, because unlike Fallout 76, you cannot create legendary items.
Yeah.
That creates some natural complications. Which, I mean, the game balance is not inherently reliant technically on legendary items as much as it is in 76. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know why I wouldn't use at least a purple gun.
The only reason I wouldn't use one is because I didn't possess one. So it's like in the early, when I first restarted a universe, I would just use whatever I was given, whatever I could like scrounge.
Interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
New Game Plus was cool because it was like taking away all your toys and like forcing you to adapt.
Yeah, and then I would have to use my like powers and stuff, so I'd find myself using powers that I normally wouldn't use, and just like I just had to get creative.
Yeah, and then like, you know, within the first 5 dungeons, a legendary item drops that you use for the rest of the run. Like I'm pretty sure that breacher shotgun I had dropped within the artifact dungeons for Universe 6. So, you know, it was like, challenge over. I guess I'm using this for the next 40 hours.
Yeah.
And for no reason other than it can't be replaced. And it's like, well, you know, if you didn't want that, you just decide not to use it. And it's like, I did often. It wasn't fun.
I'm just making the game more tedious for myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can just use the god weapon.
Mm-hmm. The god weapon that's always in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you? When the going gets tough, good fucking cheese the enemies.
When the going gets tough, aka when you just decide you had enough.
Yeah, when you start running past all the enemies.
Bethesda games always have this thing where you don't really finish, you just stop playing. And I feel like this game, I felt that the most because I'm tapping out and I still have like a ton of content left. But I'm just so
Skyrim had a good finish for me.
Yeah, Skyrim I usually would retire by the time I was running out of content that would be like logical for my character to do. So like, you know, my stealth character is not really going to do
the game with a design document
so it's usually like
as a way to conclusively
but like Starfield, I would, because what it always comes down to is there comes a point where like the light bulb clicks on your head and you realize that you're kind of just wasting your time at this point. Like you're not really having fun anymore. You realize like the illusion has finally like broken. And you're really starting to see like everything for what it is.
You're realizing that
that's why you have to take a break from Bethesda games.
The game that you mentally prepared for is just not coming.
Yeah. It's not coming, and you are playing by a set of rules that was never being enforced. So Starfield is the ultimate expression of that because there's so much content in the game and there's so much time wasters in the game that you just come to it I came to it so much quicker because I did the argument plowing through all of these systems. I'm like, this system's pointless. It took 3 hours of exploration for me to realize that basically everything tied to exploration is pointless. It took not even an hour of space combat for me to realize space combat is completely fucking pointless.
So my exploration was only circumstantial because of course I took Pete Hines' advice to rush the main quest. Because of course Starfield doesn't open up until you complete the main quest.
Which is absolutely true.
Actually, I think it's a terrible idea.
If you want the spells though,
I was of the opinion that like if you did a full playthrough of Starfield, like all the exploration and all the stuff, and you finished with the main quest, and then it revealed that New Game Plus has new options, and you're like, oh, so I could replay this entire game, and there's like a new
kind of perspective to it, I feel like that would be a big revelation moment. I almost feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you rush New Game Plus because you think that you're gonna like lose something. Like, oh no, I committed all this time in this universe and I'm gonna lose my shitty apartment.
But is there really like a new perspective?
I feel like that's the only way it pays off.
I mean, I guess that perspective can exist, but then you do it and you realize that you were tricked.
I think that you do yourself a disservice if you rush the main quest first.
I honestly don't think there's a correct answer here.
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna say, like, there probably is no correct answer. Like, it's just pick which one you think is less shitty. Yeah. But it's like, don't think that you're gonna lose something because of the new game plus reset. There's no value in this game. Like, what, you're gonna lose 1 million credits and cry about that?
Oh yeah,
don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, big deal. Yeah.
Oh no, my class 1 citizen apartment,
pirate dungeons.
My apartment in New Atlantis that I never visited.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. Is that there is nothing that you do has any sort of meaning or value
besides your perk choices. That's the only thing that has meaning or value, and it's because leveling is so glacial.
Yeah. The perk choices and what spells you unlocked is basically it. And those are the things that carry over. It's just
what flavor of overpowered do you want to be?
But yeah, like, I had no real attachment to my ships. I had absolutely no attachments to any of the companions in my relationships, because I was like, well, I can just get that back if I really wanted to romance Damn, I guess. Just take him out for a few missions and he'll love me after a point. Like, nothing here has any sort of value because it's so easy to attain, and even then it has no value. Even if it wasn't easy to attain, it still has no value because almost everything's optional.
You know, like
the
Fallout
game just
76
does not give a fuck about what you're doing.
I wouldn't want to restart Fallout 76 because I feel like I would be tangibly losing things that have value. As weird as that is, because I said
like
that
your legendary weapons.
My legendary weapons, just my base, like the notion of recreating that base.
Yeah.
Just, in a weird way, I'm like emotionally
there are
attached
things
to
that you unlock and stuff. Yeah,
and
there are things that you unlock where like that was exactly,
like the water coolers.
The water coolers and stuff. Yeah, we'll never get that again. Well,
you could, but you gotta play at the right time. And it's like, if you told me I had to replay Fallout 76 and like on a new character, I'd be a little tore up about it. But with Starfield, like, there's no commitment because there's no value to anything. And it's like, there's gonna be some legendary item that drops that I'll marry.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you really are encouraged to just base hobo the entire thing. Like, don't
live on your ship.
Don't set any roots down.
Have a warehouse planet that you just
live on your
pick up everything. Always clear out the merchants, and then have a warehouse planet where you're just storing everything and just knock out research in one.
Because they don't have enough money anyways to buy all your useless guns anyways. So
you
might as well have some value sinks.
Yeah, we were parking money in liquidity.
And then, it's so fascinating to see, like, this game really does feel like all the worst ideas from Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, just like packaged into one.
With some new bad ideas.
And it's just because they didn't learn.
It's because they didn't take criticism.
Ideas. And it's just because they didn't.
Or like the criticism they listened to was like, their games need more nameless NPCs that can kind of just mill around.
Which, by the way,
this is Fallout 4
I love that I had to turn down. I had to turn down NPC density, and I was so happy to do it because the NPCs, like the generic NPCs, are so fucking ugly that I just didn't have to look at as many of them.
Yeah,
if I could have disabled them entirely, I would have.
My theory is that the character designers know that their work is going to be inevitably replaced, and so they're just pushing the ugly people representation agenda. Which,
the bare minimum.
Not even the bare minimum. I think they're genuinely going for an aesthetic where everybody is just ugly. Because, like, if you're a character designer, like, that's kind of what you do if you feel like everybody's just going to replace my character models with, like, sexed up versions anyways.
Yeah, so I might as well just make ugly versions.
Yeah.
There's certain things in this game that actually felt like it was designed with spite. Like somebody was resentful about criticism, or that players didn't appreciate some element of like Skyrim or Fallout 4 or something like that.
Well, yeah,
So it's like their
this is a
second
game that
attempt at
very
it was
much is
just
like, yeah, Emil hates the whole paper airplanes thing. I'll show those fuckers for
No,
building
like I said,
shacks. I'll make outposts really bad, and a late game thing that you do that serves no purpose, so that people stop wasting their fucking time building shacks.
It's dude, it's so fascinating seeing the stuff that Fallout 4 did well, that everybody complimented, like character creation and settlements and shit like that, to see it come back and be done worse. How does that happen?
How does it consistently happen? Like, I feel like the only thing that people praised from Fallout 4 that was genuinely better in Starfield was like the based combat.
Yeah.
Like the centralized combat mechanics.
And apparently that was, they got assistance from like id or something like that with it, so I don't
Well, no, they said all they asked for help from id was motion blur.
Yeah. Man.
Why does Starfield exist?
That it really does come down to, like, I think the fundamental issue with Starfield is that it just should not have ever even.
It's going to be another in a long legacy of space games to try to dethrone the 90s era space boom and just fail for reasons of hubris. I think this game could have been good if they had a design document. If they had a strong like central design vision. But the problem is that Emil's
if they just had a strong a strong gameplay core. When I'm sitting there trying to figure out what this game is supposed to be, and I can't figure it out, that's a fucking problem. Like, I'm sitting there trying to figure out, like, get into the designer's
Where
head.
on my skull do I need to hit myself with a hammer?
I'm sitting there trying to get into the designer's head and like literally get on their level and be like, I'm going to play this game the way you intended, and I'm going to be as open-minded as possible because I want to actually enjoy this game. I want to like something about this game. Please show me like where the fun is. And I cannot find it. And the reason is because everybody had different ideas and it's all disparate. And it's all just this disjointed mess. So like nothing actually cohesively comes together. So it can't give me those answers because there is no answer. It doesn't exist. There is no like Fallout 4 of go out, loot, do combat, blah, 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 and like come back.
It's
and
almost
repeat.
like they were self-conscious about the gameplay loop that people identified in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And so they went with the never knows best. Like, I think people are looking at things with like loop-shaped lenses and
loop-shaped
gameplay loops are a bad
stuff,
thing.
Which is like, but then you listen to designers and like developers and stuff over the years where they're just saying, you know, that's like Halo. I think it was like Halo 2. I was the first game I heard that quote from, where they were saying the game, like the combat is, 30 seconds of fun. And the game is literally us just stretching that over the course of, 40 plus hours or something like that. And it's just,
damn,
this is kind of conventional wisdom at this point. I'm just saying as like an example. I'm paraphrasing.
Emil has demonstrated years ago. Emil is a designer. He has demonstrated that he needs to learn lessons that the industry learned 25 years ago the hard way. So like with the voice protagonist thing, for people who don't know, they were going to have a voice protagonist in this game, and they wrote the dialogue, they cast a person, they had him record lines, and only at that point did Emil go, well, maybe there's advantages to having a silent protagonist. And it's like, dude, we learned that in the 90s. You were fucking writing game reviews when the industry figured out that voice protagonists have some serious advantages. But then it's like you played Mass Effect and thought, well, I need a voice protagonist in my game. And so Fallout 4 had to have one, and he knew that they had to have one, but he's never provided a reason why he thinks that Fallout 4 needed a voice protagonist. And it universally got criticized, but he didn't listen to the criticism. And he very clearly didn't listen to the criticism because he decided that Starfield was going to have one. I want to play. I want to be in the universe where they never decided to cancel on the voice protagonist thing for Starfield. I want to play the version of this game where there is a voice protagonist. My favorite Starfield bug is
I like
when the dialogue camera breaks and it's the free camera, but you can select dialogue options and it works way better than the traditional dialogue camera.
The traditional dialogue camera that's always breaking anyways.
Yeah, so like the bugged
that
version
might
of
be
it
the
is
most
better.
prevalent bug.
Dialogue
I think
camera
that's the most prevalent
it's fairly
just like,
prevalent, but I don't want to say that it's the most prevalent. I was going through documenting
I'll
all the
find out.
bugs I reported. So I guess I could count.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go
got a lot
through
of
and
subtitle
I'm
errors
gonna count.
written down.
Yeah,
And not just subtitle errors, like misspellings are a small minority of it. It's that what the character says is not the subtitle.
Yes.
So like I don't know if they were just giving their
lot of
actors
those.
like creative license to read the lines how they wanted to. But like
there's some of them felt like it was like some stuff was just ad-libbed.
Yeah, and they'll have like explicitly written directions, so like it just says the word sigh.
Yeah.
Or they have asterisks as
yes.
emphasis markers. It's super inconsistent. The subtitles are super inconsistent.
There's I would say most of the bugs, I'll definitely say a bulk of the bugs that I came across are NPC related. So NPCs like clipping through walls or like just
I think the most common bug is like
or
animation issues. And then dialogue camera fuckery is like number 2. Which again, this was a solved problem. I don't know why they took this option.
Yeah. I like the issue during cutscenes where an NPC doesn't know who to look at when they're talking. So they'll be like saying lines that are directed towards me, but they're looking at the NPC to their right.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll like be staring at them for like most of the dialogue. And then they'll remember that I'm standing there and they'll look back at me. And it creates this issue where I'm like, I don't know.
It's the hellish fusion of Fallout 3 and Skyrim.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have the issue of the NPC in the background that's hammering something, but it's still like a walk, like you're staring right at their face during the dialogue, and it's like, why can't this be like, why not mix Skyrim and Fallout 4, where you have just first-person dialogue camera where you're presented options in a drop-down, but you can like look around.
Yeah, you can look around and move around and stuff.
It's just weird.
I don't.
The speech minigame wasn't horrible.
The speech minigame was pretty decent. It has some weird issues where what you're saying and what they're agreeing to and disagreeing to, and then like what they ultimately end up saying if they side with you, which is like there's some serious
there's some jank with it, but it's not persuasion pie.
Yeah. It's all right. I'll give it that. I'm still on the fence about, because like my character was speech build, so a lot of like stuff that I did was speech related. I'm still on the fence on whether it was worth it or not.
Well, see, the problem is you didn't do very many quest lines, and that's where the bulk of it is.
Yeah. I will say though, so that like diplomacy and intimidation and stuff, like those skills, have you tried using any of them?
In the mechanical section? Like in combat?
In speech, yeah.
Or in persuasion?
Yeah, in combat.
No, because I wasn't exactly clear on when I was supposed to. Or like what I was supposed to do.
It's fucking terrible.
I figured it was terrible.
How you use it is you open up the scanner and you hit E
because
on
reagent gives you the manipulation perk as part of the quest line, and that's how you do it. Is you open the scanner and hover over an NPC and select manipulation.
Yeah. Okay, so you have.
So I have done it.
Yeah. So now imagine that, but you have to scroll to select the one that you want to use. So like I was about to unlock. I unlocked diplomacy and I unlocked diplomacy and instigation, I think it is, where I can get them to fight
calm and frenzy.
people around them. Yeah, calm and frenzy. It's basically just illusion spells. It's such a cumbersome fucking nightmare that I just
you're supposed to be
using
sneaking, okay? It's supposed to complement a stealth playstyle. Haven't you played Skyrim? Don't you know that sneak and illusion go together?
But the thing is that they have a range. So, and the range is pretty close. So if you're sneaking in a base, you want to be away from the enemies. So why would I be sneaking far away from the enemies and then using these abilities on them from across the map?
It
won't let me do. Like you have to.
It is a shitty interpretation of cyberware from Cyberpunk. Again, the off-brand Cyberpunk.
Yeah. That's basically
sad.
What a just fucking miserable. And it's like a decent idea.
Yeah,
being able to use that on.
I think Outer Worlds tackled it better though, because it's just automatically rolled into combat in Outer Worlds.
Yeah, because see, this is ultimately runs into that classic Bethesda issue of why am I going to use all this stuff when the fastest way to deal with any encounter is just to shoot the person.
Is just to use my one-shot gun to kill them.
Yeah.
I like that they talk about that, like they considered pacifism as an option and then like decided against it, which they have a gun that actually like knocks NPCs out.
Yeah.
So like
they also have speech mechanics that let you pacify enemies and stuff.
And I really think it was just
the mechanics are
once again
there.
No design document. In order to make pacifism an option in your game, you have to have a design document, because you have to be able to say to the designers, every quest has to be created with the design consideration of this mechanic that we're going to have. And so it's like, that's too cumbersome. We can't account for every single quest in the game.
I saw people on Discord talking about like how they tried to commit to a stealth play style, and it's just like
it falls apart.
Fuck. That sounds miserable. Like just the dungeons that you go into that actually have fucking air vents in them. The thing that they were advertising. I mean, we said this during the fucking during the direct, where they were going into an air vent and stuff, air duct, and we're like, how many dungeons and places are actually going to have those air ducts? And it's like 50% turned out.
Really?
Like about that from my experience, it's only been about 50% of the dungeons that I've gone into.
Wow, from my experience, it was literally only quest lines that were built around stealth and one dungeon. There was a single dungeon. It was a super confusing layout because there's no
even
local
during
map.
The fucking main quest. The main quest. Oh yeah. No local map or anything, so you don't even know where these fucking vents are going. So good luck.
There was a super confusing dungeon.
But like even during the main fucking quest, you have, I think, 2 dungeons that actually use air vents.
Well, and it's comical and stupid, and it's because there was an obsession with in the immersive sim genre with air vents being prevalent everywhere to climb through. Like that's literally the reason. Yeah. And I love that the immersive sim crowd's going like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest immersive sim since Prey," and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. Like I've always thought it was a dubious prospect that like any Bethesda game ever ended up being considered immersive sims, because I think Oblivion is considered one.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no.
How?
Yeah, how especially Oblivion? No, the glove doesn't
what
fit.
Mechanics? Yeah.
Immersive sim people are just desperate for new games in their genre, and so they'll be like, yeah, Starfield.
And I don't think Bethesda or Starfield or anything. I don't think they should be aspiring to be immersive sim.
No,
I don't think that's within their wheelhouse.
They'd go out of business.
It's like they're RPGs, like that. You're supposed to be anyways.
I guess you didn't get the joke. Immersive sim development companies that always go out of business.
Yeah.
Or they become arcane and 70% of their staff quits when they're forced to make a Left 4 Dead clone.
Something that is when they're forced to make something that isn't an immersive sim.
Yeah. Guys, we promise working for Bethesda is going to be great.
But I'm really right now I am most interested in knowing. Apparently, I need to verify this, but so you know how like they've been saying, Starfield's beating Skyrim's player like top player count and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, it hasn't beaten Fallout 4's player count on Steam though.
Well, listen.
So,
majority of people are playing on Game Pass.
Fallout. Well, so that was a joke that I made on Twitter. Is that like, oh yeah, Starfield's got the like most concurrent Steam players beating Skyrim's numbers, or whatever. But it's also not on an entire fucking platform. You know, the most popular console platform right now.
You know, actually, there was like 10 million people.
Those people aren't getting.
There's like 10 million people who played Baldur's Gate 3 not on Steam. Obviously, they played it on GOG. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that bullshit that bullshit cuts both ways. Let's be honest. There is a consistent crowd of people who like to play games on Steam, and you can measure Steam player counts, and if they're low for a game, it's not because they're playing it elsewhere. Or like you have to go out of your way to prove that that's the case. Like I don't buy for a second that that there's millions of people playing Halo Infinite on PC and that they just all happen to be on the Xbox app. Do you know how fucking bad the Xbox app for PC for Windows is? No, anybody with a brain who's playing Halo Infinite multiplayer, which, anyways,
it's free to play, mind you.
It's free to play. They're gonna run it on Steam. So, I feel like the same thing. Like, if you're gonna buy Starfield, you're gonna buy it through Steam.
Yeah, and especially my whole point is like, PlayStation players are not. If they're going to have another platform to play on, it's going to be PC. It's not going to be fucking Xbox. Why are they going to have redundant consoles? Especially a console that has no fucking games.
Yeah. A console that has to say that Windows counts as being exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah. So I think that's having a real knock-on effect on the Steam player counts. And even with that, you know, let's assume like half of the PlayStation players who are interested in Starfield are playing it on Steam now. Even with that, it's still not beating Fallout 4's accounts. Like,
yeah, no, it's pretty suspect. I think that the cat's out of the bag on Bethesda. I think that Fallout 4 started a cascade effect of skepticism with their games, and so the only reason that Starfield appears bigger is because it's been turned into the flagship for Xbox, which is hilarious. Because you have to remember the last flagship for Xbox
because
the last flagship for Xbox was Halo 3.
Oh.
I mean, consider that for a second.
Yeah, I guess
Halo 3 was the definitive game of the Xbox 360, right? And you have to consider you have to really dive into design analysis to come up with flaws that Halo 3 has. Or like you have to be a contrarian who's like, I just don't like what it did to multiplayer video gaming or what have you, right? But like Halo 3 is a solid video game. You cannot deny that Halo 3 is a solid video game. It's extremely well put together. There's exceptional mechanical cohesion in Halo 3. So everything that we said about Starfield, you know, you couldn't apply those metrics to Halo 3 because it's such a great, it's so good at being a video game. Might not be like a transformative story, you know. It's not really that interesting of a first person shooter. Its multiplayer wasn't really that like groundbreaking for competitive video gaming, but it's a solid product. Starfield though.
But there was still innovation in Halo 3 though, in terms of like Forge and everything too. Yeah. So it wasn't even like there was a lot of Forge theater mode and everything like that, and file sharing. There was a lot of stuff that they put into that game that
did in every aspect
define
it's a game that it doesn't have fat as a game.
Beautiful cohesion between everything. Yeah. Starfield though,
like I think the only thing that's fat about Halo 3 is the Hayabusa armor, because it's a promotional tie-in with something that these days nobody knows about, and so it's like it's kind of out of place.
Yeah,
No, Halo 3 was a solid game.
Which is funny
it's
because like it
understandable why it
became
was a
its own
flagship.
thing anyways. Yeah.
And then you have Starfield, and Starfield's supposed to serve the same
You have
role for the
Starfield,
Series X. And it's like there's too many questionable
not
design
a good-
decisions. Plus, Microsoft has to go out of their way to buy another company that like is a guaranteed money printer in order to like have a flagship title. So it's like I don't like
Yeah.
participating in the whole console war thing, but like you have to understand that Microsoft, in terms of running their companies, has just run all of their franchises into the ground.
Yeah. I mean, just look at Halo with 343 Industries and stuff.
Yeah.
We go from Halo 3 to Halo Infinite. Track that fall.
Infinite was supposed to be the
and
Series
then just
X
understand
flagship.
that.
You got to remember that. I think the only reason Starfield's been put into this position is because they utterly dropped the ball with Halo Infinite. And so it's like, well, I guess Halo's not up to it. What else do we have that? It's like we got the Starfield game coming.
Yeah, we need a hit. We need something to really, because
remember, it's the starter pistol
last generation.
It's the starter pistol for Microsoft's new generation of
what's the follow-up act? What's the follow-up act? Forza?
Fable?
Like Fable that still doesn't even have a release date. That's the funny. That's what baffles me about that quote from Phil Spencer, that like this is a starting pistol. It's like, okay, what else do you got?
Yeah, I think they're.
What are we supposed to be expecting from here on out?
I think they're just making it up as they go, and they're hoping that like, I think Starfield is being banked on as like a bailout for Microsoft's game division.
Yeah,
and it's not like Sony's doing better.
No, they're just. I don't know. Are they? I don't know. I think they might be doing better, more like slightly better. At least their games are like being critically praised and players like them and stuff. I don't care for them, but other people do. Starfield's getting a lot of fucking flack. I'm surprised. I really am surprised.
Yeah, I think we're stuck in this echo chamber of the pre-release where we were shit posting on Twitter a lot, and like it was impossible to criticize the game. I haven't kept up with Twitter very much after the game came out because I was playing the game. So like, there is more criticism than we are like assuming that there is. Like, yeah, there's a lot of dick writing, but of course there's dick writing. Like, this happens every cycle with this stuff.
But
I think the honeymoon period is going to be much faster.
IGN and GameSpot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the honeymoon phase is going to be when people start doing their second playthrough and they start doing their Starborn playthroughs. And they realize,
if you're watching somebody who had a Starfield review come out on August 31st and they praised the game, you should probably like become skeptical of that person from here on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is going to be a massive project because there's so much to this. There's no way that I could sit there, play the game for like 50 hours and then get a cohesive review out in like 10 days.
I got to come up with something that I can do so that you have time to finish your Skyrim project.
I'm debating just putting off the Skyrim project and
I think you could make a December release again.
For what?
For Skyrim Part 3.
Oh, no. I mean, Starfield first though, because the idea was that Skyrim was going to be coming out like soon. But I'm still not even done with that script yet, and I kind of
listen.
Yeah,
I tried to tell you. I tried to warn you. I had the other problem where I didn't have enough time to do a project between Outer Worlds and Starfield.
Yeah.
So like I was doing nothing for half of August. Which I mean is fine. I said I was going to take the last week of August off anyways. I said that in March.
Yeah.
So not the biggest deal. Whereas you have the opposite problem of like Starfield's crowding your skies. Any kind of closing thoughts on Starfield? You're at 100 hours, right?
What would you give it? What would you rate it?
I said 4 out of 10 on the first day, and
110.
I think it's still a strong 4 out of 10. The problem with numerical scores, and like this was the stupid discourse that happened when I gave my answer, was like, when I give a numerical score, it is very pragmatic. It is purchasing decision information. It's too complicated for me to just sit down and write up an explanation because I'm doing that. I'm making a video. But I don't typically do numerical scores for that reason. I think the game's worth...
Yeah, it's just for the pure...
30,
the
35 bucks.
expediency of being able to like somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the better way of putting it. I think is like putting
Put
a
a price
price
tag
tag on it.
Yeah, because it's like it's too complicated, and people are like, "Well, what did you give Fallout 4?" And it's like, in the context of Fallout 4, and it's like, okay, it's going to take me like 2 hours to write up an explanation for why I would give Fallout 4 that score and why I would give Starfield that score, and it's like, I don't want to waste a bunch of fucking time explaining the numerical scores on it. It's a 4 out of 10. Okay, that's what I feel.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I'm not. You have to understand, I don't inflate review scores. So like, I gave Red Dead 2 a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. I don't rate on the IGN scale. 5 is like mid.
5 is industry average, which means
mid,
that Starfield is getting a pretty high score if we consider like Cyberpunk to be average. Which I don't think Cyberpunk is average. I think it hits above, but
so where would you rank it amongst other Bethesda titles?
I've been thinking about this, and it's complicated because you know my thoughts on like Fallout 3, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard. I think it will take a while for me to reconcile where it fits into that pantheon.
I definitely would consider it below Skyrim. I'm confident, which is shocking because
I don't think it's shocking.
My Skyrim series.
Skyrim is a solid product in its own way.
It's cohesive. It has a design vision. I disagree with the vision, but
it
at least knew what it wanted to be for the most part.
It's solid.
I feel like a lot of its shortcomings were technical
and design
lack
decisions.
of ambition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Narrative stuff.
I think. Yeah. Starfield's just a fucking mess. That's all it comes down to. So that really it's competing with Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. So I think it's better than Fallout 4 or Fallout 76. And when I 30 hours in, after I finally got like some grasp on the game and stuff, I was like, no, this is better than Fallout 4. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think ultimately
I'm almost at the point now. So Fallout 76 is by far like I fucking hated Fallout 76.
Yeah, and this is
I know you liked it more than Fallout 3.
Where I rate Fallout 76 kind of higher in the spectrum.
Where it's funny because like I always see people say like in comments and stuff like, oh, you guys never disagree on anything, and it's like, oh no, we disagree on plenty of shit. Just ask us like how we rank Fallout 3 and 76.
Yeah, like fundamental stuff. So, like our opinion on Fallout 76 is different. I like the people.
Yeah.
There's people who are like say that you're like a parasite to me, and it's like, no, you have never put yourself in a position where like I can't get rid of you, or like you're not a hanger on. Like I have you around because I agree with you on a lot of stuff, and I disagree with you on a lot of stuff, and it's interesting. It's cool.
It makes we get interesting if we disagreed too much or if we agreed too much, we wouldn't be able to fill 3.5 hours now of just talking about Starfield. Let's put it that way.
We wouldn't be able to have these kind of therapy sessions.
Yeah. So yeah, really what it comes down to now is I'm trying to place it in the context of Fallout 4 and 76. And I'm so close to saying it's worse than 76. I really am.
It's
and that's why I had to stop playing.
Because
it comes down.
Let's variate this. Okay, better or worse than Launch 76? Not buggy, but like just the main quest. No Wastelanders, no Brothers of Steel. That period of it.
See, because the stuff that I liked about Fallout 76 is character progression, and I think a lot of that got touched up with like post-launch editions. So I would say it's better than Launch 76.
But worse than current 76. Because I would agree with that. I think that 76 is very strong.
That's the dilemma.
As like a leveling system.
Yeah.
And obviously as an exploration, as a vehicle for exploration, it's got a great world. It's got a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like its problems are
great
like
soundtrack,
quest design,
interesting dungeon design, and everything.
The difficulty of it,
quest design,
gameplay,
and the fact that it's not a multiplayer game, even though it's supposed to be a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
like I think that's the main issues that I have with Fallout 76 is that like if it was a Fallout 4 with co-op, I would have much higher opinions of Fallout 76.
Yeah.
But because it's trying to be like a large scale not MMO, but large scale multiplayer game, and it fucking abysmal at that.
I rate it higher because it tried to break the mold with its
76.
storytelling, whereas Starfield is committed to copying
It's
the mold of Skyrim.
down to the number of factions and stuff too. It's like,
and like basic ideas about the premise. Like 200 years ago, something big happened. 20 years ago, something big happened. Main quest is about like pursuing some mystery. Like there was a civil war.
Yeah.
There's like these
Starborn,
metaphysical
Dragonborn,
beings that you become. Yeah, it is space Skyrim, like flat out.
The only element of Starfield's writing that I want to give like I want to give credit to, but I will not, is because it's executed really poorly, is the idea that we're not the only chosen one.
Yeah.
We're more of a chosen one than the other chosen ones, but you still have other chosen ones running around. I think that would have been if the Starborn were much more fleshed out. There was more interactivity, especially with like your second playthrough and stuff, where like you could ally with them or something like that, or like
they should all be hostile.
Or like if there's another faction that you could just
playthrough 1, they should all be hostile, but then playthrough 2, when you join their ranks, you should be able to actually meet way more Starborn characters and have more expansive dialogue options where they're like, so now that you're a Starborn, there should be more names. This stuff, like
there should be more named ones.
Yeah, or like
there should be more named ones than just the fucking emissary and the hunter,
which they're not even named,
and the ones that we killed during the
titled
temple. Yeah.
There are named Starborn and they're like bosses. It's so weird. It's like, who the fuck are those characters? Like, are they Starborn incarnations of whoever we take with us to the Unity? And they're just like insane for some reason. Like, what the fuck is going on with the story?
That's what that would have been one of my rewrites, is that everybody in every Starborn and stuff that we come across are actually Constellation members. So the hunter would actually be Sebastian Banks, not fucking Keeper Aquila.
Keeper
Aquila. Like, what the fuck?
Why is the actual Keeper Aquila is hinted to be a Starborn? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like where I found out
it
that
makes
like
no sense.
Yeah, no, Keeper Aquila being tied up on all that is stupid, and it's just because it's like the twist of, oh well, he seemed like a nice old man, but he's actually a murderer, and it's like, your idea of Sebastian Banks is way better.
Like,
just so that he can be a character in the story.
He built, but like. So like but it also ties into the themes that it's trying to build, where it's like he originally built the constellation and stuff, and like then him and Sarah would be like two like polar opposites basically.
Well, and you have to remember the emissary
about still believing in like the vision, right? Yeah, the emissary changes, but like
my emissary was Barrett.
Yeah, but it's like just that one simple change would make the story so much fucking better. And then
and maybe like some kind of
that was the interesting part about
some kind of central document that lays out all the rules for how this stuff works. Well, do we have a name for that?
Is there a name for that?
I feel like a lot of game companies, if they're not doing that, they should be. It seems like a brilliant idea.
But yeah, that's the one part that I want to give credit to Starfield, but it just doesn't do anything with it, so I can't. It's like, what if
Fallout 76 tried
Dragonborn everywhere.
No, Fallout 76 tried to do something new, and I give credit to it. Starfield also tries to do something new, and I can't give credit to it. Because Fallout 76 is what it was trying to do is at least coherent with its design and like what it's trying to accomplish as a story. Whereas like I'd almost give it more credit if they didn't reveal that they had started from the beginning on Starfield with the ending in mind.
Yeah.
Don't admit that. Which I mean, do admit that.
If it was like,
feel free to say whatever you want. I enjoy you guys being candid and admitting all kinds of things that help illuminate why Starfield is the failure that it is.
And I think that's what's That's honestly what's almost killing me with this project, is that there is so much that they have for a game that they showed so little of. They have talked so much about it to the point that I could do an entire video of just like 40 minutes to an hour of just out of context quotes and just upload that and just say like, this is why Starfield is, and people would get it.
My central thing for my video is going to be focusing on that design document thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've been resisting the urge to tell people on like Discord and Twitter that that's why the game is the way that it is. And I have to be kind of thankful that it goes through this honeymoon period of just blanket praise, because it means that the developers feel confident in being candid. Skyrim's developers were most candid in talking about why the game was the way it was when it was positively received. They've kind of shelled up as designers in terms of talking about it since it started getting criticized. Same thing with Fallout 4. Immel did that famous talk before Joseph Anderson made his second video on Fallout 4. And so, like, Immel was very candid because he doesn't listen to criticism, but Immel was still very candid, I think, because, like, he was living in a time period where Fallout 4 was being positively received.
He was...
on some level, at least.
Yeah.
Popularly.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating is I wish I had like a crystal ball or something right now and I could just look at how people are talking about Starfields in like 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now.
Oh, I've got a prediction like, in my fucking script that says people are going to positively receive this video because it tries to do stuff with the multiverse thing, and they're going to ignore the million ways that it doesn't work. But at least it lets you. At least it lets you change the quest line 1 or 2 times.
Yeah. Oh my!
It's brilliant.
That was the most disappointing part. That was the most disappointing part of it. Was just the stuff where it's like, I already know as a player where to go for this. Why doesn't my character know? And then later on, like they try to lampshade it, and the hunter and the emissary are like, "Oh, so you're retracing your steps from your first life, right?" And it's like, well, I'm glad they're finally giving me some sort of explanation for why my character's behaving this way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, we needed the player
really
to
at
redo
the end of the day, it was just
the player has to redo the Slayton Aerospace quest, but the scow is optional. Starfield is good.
Starfield will be good.
Starfield will be good. Just wait for the DLC.
To fix it.
Wait for the DLC. Wait for the mods. How can you even talk about the game? The creation kit's not out yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's not until 2024. They said.
Come on, guys. Haven't you heard of early access? Yeah, the game's in a rough state, but they're gonna patch it up. You can't patch story.
I really want to know how much staying power this game's gonna have, because you have so many other good RPGs that came out this year. You have fucking Cyberpunk about to basically have its Phoenix Rising moment.
Yeah,
because I think that expansion, the Liberty expansion, and the 2.0 update and stuff is really gonna.
It's gonna breathe new life into that game in a way that Edge Runners didn't.
Yeah.
Which watch it fail.
That's just
train wreck after train wreck. But I mean, like Baldur's Gate 3. What a baller move! Moving up your release date to be ahead of Starfield, because that's how confident you are that you're gonna blow them away. Like literally, the only defense that Starfield has against Baldur's Gate 3 comparisons is that, well, guys, it's a fundamentally different kind of game, and it's like it's really not that different in like key areas. Like the main difference really is that it's not open world, but like there's so many valid comparisons.
Not open world, and it's like. Not open world, it's a party-based RPG, and it's like isometric.
And like, turn-based combat. But like, you can't compare the like combat gameplay, sure, but like as role-playing games, you can absolutely make comparisons.
Yeah, what it's trying to do.
And okay, let's just wait for the 26th when the Cyberpunk rework comes out. We can deal with it.
Yeah, then we'll have a much more fair comparison.
Yeah. Because remember, Starfield is copying Cyberpunk.
Will Starfield get any fucking awards at the Game Awards this year? We'll get anything from anybody.
Fallout 4 managed
to. I think that's going to be the most interesting.
I mean, yeah, this has been a tough year, hasn't it?
I I think if it can get anything,
They
it
should
would
have
be
dropped
like
it last year if
best
they wanted
new
awards.
IP. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Best new IP. Yeah, there you go. Is it though? Is it?
Well, there's a game called Forspoken.
Yeah, or Atomic Heart.
Oh yeah, Atomic Heart. I don't know. It's all I know is I'm gonna be watching the Game Awards this year.
Yeah. I hope they have Todd
think
Howard's
that
in the
might have to be a
crowd and they
live
like
stream.
have camera cuts to Todd Howard as he doesn't win awards.
Oh.
No, I mean,
Oh man, he'll have to show up too, because he's buddies with Jeff Keighley and stuff. Like, be a real faux pas not to show up.
I'm glad that this is the game you guys always wanted to make. It's kind of embarrassing, but
that's I think that's
if you're
the note
happy
to
with
end
it,
on,
I'm
really.
happy
It's
with
like
it.
they wanted to make this game for 25 years, or at least Todd Howard wanted to for 25 years.
Mm.
They phoned in a lot of games to finally get to this position where they could spend a shit ton of money working for a really long time on a new IP set in outer space. What we got was Starfield. We didn't get TES 6 got delayed for this. Because TES 6 was next on deck. They did 2 fucking Fallout games. Like, what else are they gonna do but TES 6?
I fulfilled my obligation to play Starfield to see how TES 6 will go. Now that I've played it, I'm gonna say it. TES 6 will not be the return to form. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I know it's a crazy prediction.
I can finally say, because everybody who would ask me that question, I'd be like, wait for Starfield. Starfield will be the indicator if they're actually learning lessons or not. And
well, the big thing was the promise that like this is the game that Todd Howard wants to make, and it's like,
yeah,
if this is what Todd Howard wants to do, like, then what is the phone job going to be on TES 6 and Fallout 5? Like, you think TES 6 is going to be rough? Fucking Fallout 5. Like, at least TES 6 has the opportunity to not be led by Emil Pagliarulo.
Yeah. That's the only safe. That's the only like possibility here is that we get a different lead designer on that project.
Listen. They should do what I've been saying
Emil
for
destroy
years.
the Dark Brotherhood again.
Break up Bethesda, Maryland team, put Emil in charge of the Austin team, give him Fallout 5, and tell him to fuck off forever.
Yeah.
I don't like Emil. I don't like the way that he makes his games. I think the only thing I could say about him is that maybe he seems like an interesting person to like talk to.
Yeah. He's somebody that I think I could have some really interesting conversations with, but not like in a positive way.
He'd be a great podcast
He has so much
guest.
like
He has
so much
But just stop
being
in charge of things.
Yeah. He has so much exposure to like different media and stuff, and like media that I really love. Like Donnie Brasco, that's a good fucking movie. That's a like good inspiration.
He's coming in with a cut.
He took the wrong. He's one of those people like he watches something or he consumes something and then he just gets the exact wrong things from like the wrong lessons from it.
Or he has no way. He has no idea how to actually translate those ideas into what his own art form. And so, like, there's this weird filter between what he gets inspired by and what he makes. And, he's not solely to blame for Starfield's faults. Just
no,
30% at least.
It's a group effort.
It's like 30% Emil and 40% Todd. Man.
I just want a game that I can look forward to. At least City Skylines 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that... I don't know. I don't know how to feel about... Playing Starfield made me want to do Cyberpunk a lot for my next quick retrospective. But at the same time, I kind of want Blizzard to announce that they're doing a fresh server of WoW Classic.
Yeah.
Playing Starfield has not given me...
I don't know. Starfield...
It's not giving me an inspiration.
Starfield makes me want to go back and play Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Starfield makes me not want to play any more Bethesda games at this point.
No, like
I was gonna do Morrowind and stuff, but I think I need to just take a break.
Yeah. What a shame.
Like once Skyrim's done.
No, like this is
Yeah.
Starfield's
I
end
think
of an
once
era for
Skyrim's
me.
done, I need to. Yeah.
Like this is where I get off the train. I have no aspirations of seeing Elder Scrolls 6. You know, because it's going to be a game that destroys the fucking Elder Scrolls community. Yeah, for still alive.
I don't want to be there for that. Yeah, I don't want to be there for that.
Like Starfield was fun.
But also like if Starfield was fun because I had no like investment into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, like going into it with like
I had
ironic value.
I've had a blast the past since the game before the game even launched, like a week before when I was just on Twitter shit posting and stuff. This has been one of the most fun months I've had in a really long time. All for the wrong reasons. Not because Starfield is a good game, not because Starfield is a fun game or anything or a rewarding game. It's just been fascinating.
Well, Fallout 4 was the last Bethesda game
does what I do for a living.
Fallout 4 was the last Bethesda game I played with the hope that it was going to be good. Fallout 76 and Starfield were both played for ironic reasons.
That's interesting. I actually had no expectations for Fallout 4. Like Skyrim really ejected me hard. I went from absolutely loving Oblivion and being super hyped for Skyrim to like I'm pretty much done with Bethesda, like having any hope that Bethesda games are going to be
there,
good.
but I mean, like,
so that's why Fallout 4. That's why Fallout 4 had a little bit of staying power for me, especially like settlement building, because I was pleasantly surprised in certain regards.
My thing,
I had no expectations.
My thing with Fallout 4 is I do give a lot of like second chances to stuff. Like people don't give me credit for being open-minded enough, because I mean, like, come on. I knew with Skyrim that Bethesda had gone off the deep end. And so, like, yes, the cynical part of my brain was like, Fallout 4 is not going to be good, and it wasn't. But there's an optimist part of my brain, too, that said, this is their last shot. Okay? But their last shot was Fallout 4, and they've done 76 and Starfield since then. And I appreciate those games for ironic reasons. They've become...
It's not even like
Starfield.
It's not like Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is my McDonald's game. Like,
yeah,
it's shit, but I love it because it's shit. There's certain aspects to it I genuinely like. Starfield is something that I love to hate. 76 is something I love to hate.
I'll compare it to Marvel movies or Star Wars, where I'm not like Infinity War is the only Marvel movie that I really like, and then like I don't like any of the new Star Wars stuff. And so why do I maintain interest in those things if I don't like them? Because it's hilarious. It's hilarious the stupid shit that they do with those franchises. Like they maintain a solid ironic value, and once you establish that you can like enjoy something ironically, then it kind of loops around to being fun again. And so but
absolutely.
Fallout 76 is a great ironic game now to enjoy. Starfield is not.
Starfield is kind of just sad. Well, I mean, it helped that Fallout 76 at least had some aspects to it that were appealing. I genuinely cannot think of anything in Starfield that I liked. I could just say full stop, no qualifiers here.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the ironic thing, seriously, the highest point for me in the game was going to Sarah Morgan's funeral and wearing her clothing at the funeral, delivering her eulogy.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard. Like, you want to talk about enjoy, and I'm not exaggerating, that was the high point for me. Like, if looking back, retroactively looking back, because I still had hope that like maybe some other parts in the game are going to be better or whatever. Like, I'm just having fun fucking around with this right now, but I'm having fun at least fucking around here with this role play right now. Like, this is absurd. This game is giving me the opportunity to create this absurd moment, and I kind of appreciate it for that.
You know what Starfield's missing that 76 had?
Yeah.
Nuclear missile silos. being able to nuke the
Yeah.
crater
Yeah.
after their abysmal questline is a level of catharsis that, and I mean, it's meaningless because it doesn't do anything. You don't accomplish anything by nuking the crater,
Yeah.
but damn, does it make a good moment. Just a charming moment. Just to sit there, watch the explosion, and go, I'm imagining all of these characters painfully dying. And it's sadistic and it's sadistic and cruel, and I'm not supposed to have these kinds of emotions, but I'm going to anyways. It's a unique kind of catharsis that other video games don't provide, and Starfield doesn't have an equivalent moment. There should be like, you can just destroy things. You just blow up New Atlantis.
I was really hoping that I could at least blow up like the UC Vigilance or something.
Yeah.
Can't even do that.
Yeah. You can't blow up the UC Vigilance. You can't kill anybody in that stupid quest line. Like, there were so many times that I would quick save, pull out my gun, and shoot somebody, and they'd be essential, and I'm like, of course.
Oh yeah.
Of course. And they would never go unessential.
Yeah.
Like, you're just essential forever, and it's like,
that's
cool,
why I would just go on murder sprees to get that out of my system.
Yeah.
Because like somebody had to die for those fucking obnoxious NPCs that I couldn't kill. Somebody had to die for Mathis and
yeah.
And
just the greatest sequence of catharsis.
In that quest line.
Did you ever do the Paradiso quest? The greatest sequence of catharsis for me was massacring everybody on that ship. That quest is so fucking stupid in terms of its premise. Because like, okay, so the idea, they're the one from the direct where it's like,
yeah, you're human.
Yeah, so it's that quest. And the premise is that like they left before the grav drive was invented, and it took them like 200 years to get to that planet. And
wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Which I think doesn't even make sense in its own continuity, but I digress. They left Earth before the grav drive was invented, so they did it the slow way to get to another star system.
Or did they just like freeze themselves in kryptonite?
No, they're a generation ship, so like nobody that's on the ship is from the original. Like, there's some interesting stuff in there where like it explores the sci-fi concept of a generation ship, where like it's an interesting idea of what type of person do you have to be to get aboard a ship and to know that you're going to live your entire life inside that ship, but your descendants one day will settle a planet. But the quest is not that interesting. No one ever leaves. It's a vault ship for sure. So the premise is that like they're trying to settle this planet, but there's this resort on the planet already, and they're like, we can't settle the planet if the resort is there, because maybe one day in the future we'll come in contact with them and they'll have demands. And the resort's like, they can't live on the other side of the planet because we own the entire planet, and it would mar the promotional images, the brochure images for our resort if they had a settlement.
What?
No, like, no shit. This is the conflict. Is there is a resort on this planet, and it's literally the only thing on the planet. On a planet that I think has above 1G, by the way. So like there would not be a resort there, but I digress. So you can't resolve the conflict the obvious way of like, hey, just live on the other side of the planet. You will never encounter these people if you don't want to. Nope, that's not a solution. You got to pick a side, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna kill everybody. So I went up to the ship. I went and shot everybody, and the game kind of soft locks because there's like, I had to actually go down, talk to the guy, and then I was able to like blow up the ship. But there is like an intended sequence where you can blow up the ship.
Oh, okay.
It
because consequence won't do it. I tried it on the UC Vigilance,
but it broke because the ship just stayed after. Like it was gone, but the model was still there. So like it was just bugged. But like then I went down to the resort and shot everybody there too. But they were all essential, of course.
In the quest line, oh yeah, of course. In the quest line, that's why you got to go in there and disable them too. With you shoot them, and then you go in and console command disable them so that they disappear. But so in the quest line, you can destroy the ship.
Yes, but it bugs out and the model stays.
But
the next time that you fast travel to the orbit,
right? Okay. Hey, and bug-free games, though, right?
Standout side quest of Starfield. It made at least one top side quest list.
Really?
Yeah. That's how that's when I knew that, like, it doesn't have ironic value. And there's no, like, catharsis of, like, there's no reason that anybody in that quest should be essential.
Yeah.
Like, none at all. The only NPCs in Starfield that should be essential are the ones that you need to get the artifacts. And even then, like, you can use the eye without Vlad.
Yeah, that's what happened in one of my playthroughs, where everybody was replaced by clones of me. And then I could just walk up to the thing. It was literally easier because I didn't have to navigate through Vlad's dialogue. So I just travel to the eye, get on the ship, hit the thing, get the thing, and then fast travel immediately. As it is so much faster. No, the only reason these things are essential is because quest scripting, and they don't want things to break because that's just more bugs for them to fix.
It's cowardly. And
because now you don't even have the excuse of like, well, you know, the players, we don't want to cut players off from content stuff. It's like, but you have New Game Plus. You just if you fuck something up, just reset.
You have a built-in incentive to do that. So not only do you have the save system to just reload a save, but like they can just put it on the list of like, next time I'm going to do this quest line and I'm not going to fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not like random dragon attacks are going to kill anybody. Because the universe is fucking static. Man, that's something I haven't even thought about is the fact that like there's no Institute synth attacks or, you know, Brotherhood vertibirds or dragons, or there's no like interactions of the world with settlements and like attacks or anything. And so everything is just kind of static. It's more but less dynamic. So like they have a script for New Atlantis where like there's 2 quests where New Atlantis gets attacked. There's the one where the hunter attacks it, and there's one where terrormorphs attack it. And they have a whole thing of like, all the billboards of the city become like emergency evacuation orders. They have like a shuttered gate system, and like there's a lot of cool things. And it'll disappear on its own. So it's not quest stage tied where like New Atlantis stays in evacuation mode for 2 months because you didn't turn in the quest. Like if you go off and do something else and come back, New Atlantis will eventually recover on its own. So like that's great attention to detail. But this is a game where nothing happens to settlements. There's no like big dynamic Ashta attacks at Aquila, or you know, the Crimson Fleet never tries to like invade a city.
I've been looking at this and wondering how Radiant AI even works in this game.
I don't think
if it even honestly still exists.
I don't know if it exists anymore.
Like, is there, like, if a trader takes off from New Atlantis and is flying to, like, Aquila City, is that tracked, or do they just get deleted?
I don't know if any of that exists anymore. If there's any trace of... I think it was just too much overhead. And I think that's one of the like spring cleaning things that they did, was they just got rid of that system. Or whatever's left is,
I mean, like, shopkeepers don't sleep anymore.
Yeah, there's just generic citizens. So it's not like it's not like the citizens are all named like Ysolda and they have a house that they go to and a schedule where they sleep. It's just, you know.
I mean, like those ones are like, I'd be fine with those ones just being, you know, like they're spawned and despawned when I'm in the cell, right?
Yeah.
But like the named NPCs, like there's a dude that at New Atlantis where I can just they all just stand there in perpetuity. The shopkeepers are all named and they just stand there forever.
I think it's gone. And there's no like, there doesn't seem to be a equivalent of the Khajiit caravans, like trade ships that like, iconic trade ships that you can see be in like different parts of the settled systems as you play. Like it's all Radiant events, you know, because there are people you run into. There's like this guy called the Valentine that's singing like sea shanties, but I'm pretty sure like, actually no, because I had to go to that planet's orbit like on different saves because like something happened and I had to revert a save and I went back and he wasn't there. So it's like, it's not like he's Like the Khajiit caravans are dynamically there. It's emergent storytelling because they have a path that they travel. They don't teleport between the cities. They don't
Yeah,
show
they're
up because of a
tracked.
trigger.
Yeah,
Like
they're tracked.
they are genuinely walking through Skyrim, and you run into them frequently if you travel in the overworld, like by the roads. So
Yeah, so I don't think you can even say the Valentine is a radiant system. I think that's a random
yeah, no, it's just a
system.
random event because you warped into an
Yeah.
orbit. There's a lot of those, but it's not radiant. That is interesting to think about. That like ultimately, radiant AI like kind of a defining thing for Bethesda's gone.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed was like I was thinking like how effective is it really to be a thief in this game? Because I'm writing like the Thieves Guild section right now in Skyrim, and it's like you can make a decent living being a thief in Skyrim. And it's because of like Radiant AI and like Guard AI being like, there's a lot of things that went into play. And it was clear that they made an effort to make it so.
Yeah.
But then you have Starfield where you have like a dedicated theft skill and all this stuff. But it's like, are there any houses that I can break into and steal from? Are there shops that I can steal from? Like, there's some. Aquila City, I think, has more than like New Atlantis, but like, where's the houses in New Atlantis? Can I like burgle? Can I B and E into houses in New Atlantis? No, I can't. And
Or
it's
if you
just
can, it's not a prominent system. I think that's something that has to be clarified. Is we
yeah,
might make declarative statements about what you can and can't do that might be proven wrong, and it's just like if you play for 100 hours, the things that are prominent about its design should come to the surface. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable expectation, especially because ultimately its
yeah,
scope is comparable to Skyrim.
yeah.
There's hundreds of hours of things to do probably, but you know, meaningfully, I don't think it gets
That's what's so
past
funny
100 hours.
about Starfield. Everybody's saying you know, oh my god, Starfield's this huge game. It has all this content and everything. And I mean, we were discussing this earlier, but it genuinely doesn't feel like that. It just feels like the way it's presented creates that illusion. But I still think Skyrim holds out as the biggest game that they've ever made in terms of content. And a lot of it has to do with just like there's still, you know, you could still do theft. You can still play as like a thief. I genuinely can't see how playing a thief in this game is even viable. Piracy's definitely not.
I mean, piracy is, but
Trading is
it's that same fundamental like, um, can you decide to do it? Sure, you could decide to be the cheese merchant of the settled systems, but
yeah.
is it actually a system that would be engaging to do and rewarding to do? And it's like, no, you're basically like a Tumblr kid who's like, lol, I do so random things. It's not amusing either.
Yeah.
You've seen the green text of like the guy that role plays as Fargoth in Morrowind. He'll make a character that's like that wood elf guy in Satanin and like just replace him as an NPC. Like it's a quick meme, but it's just a random thing that you do. It's not really a substantial like rewarded thing. It's like fucking 10 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
If you want to sell me on the idea that I'm a bounty hunter, you have to have a substantial bounty hunting system. And you don't. You have a Radiant quest system.
It can't.
And like bounties in Red Dead 1
Radiant quest system that shares
basically Radiant
with other. It's the same fucking bounty board that you get for like delivering shit.
Yeah.
And like being a fucking space Uber.
Yeah, they should have had a like Starfield was the game where they needed to come up with a system where you could capture NPCs. It's obviously that's not been a thing historically, but they decided not to do that. And so bounty hunting is the same as like just bandit killing. So you're not really a bounty hunter because Red Dead bounty hunting was more complex because you could it was just missions where you could run around and kill people, but there were also you got more if you could catch people, and that was like more mechanically incentivized.
Maybe bounty hunting was just a stretch goal, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the major problems with the space element of the game is that there's a lot of everything related to space feels tacked on more so than the other shit. And it's just a lot of random systems. Nothing feels like purposely designed there.
I feel like that wraps up kind of our Starfield decompression.
Yeah. I could sit here and come up with a lot more shit, but I feel like I got it off my chest at least.
Yeah. Since I have someone to talk to know that you're not crazy. Because like right now, like this happens with all of the Bethesda game releases. They try to make you feel crazy.
Yeah.
For observing this stuff.
Yeah.
And then that just goes away with time. It wears
there's
away
gonna
with
be
time.
There's gonna be the people who are telling me that the game is not designed for me. That
yeah.
That I went in with too high of expectations, or I'm just here because I hate the game and that I didn't want it to be good, or just all sorts of different types of ways to just nullify
Deflect.
my criticism of it. Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna say my piece. I'm gonna make my videos, say my piece, and then probably never fucking play Starfield again, unless they really do some serious.
The DLC would have
What
to
would
be like
get you to play
insane.
Starfield again?
House of Averin
Yeah.
DLC, and like an actual like substantial rework of some of these problems.
Yeah, I would need to see like some serious free patches first.
Yeah.
Fix a lot of the shit, the UI, the just top to bottom. There's so many different things that they can knock off to make this shit better. And then it needs to have some banger DLCs and probably some banger mods
and
too.
Of course,
like,
the answer is you're expecting
all three of
too
those
much.
things.
You're expecting too much. They're not going to do an economic overhaul in a DLC. But if they did, that would be a reason to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would basically take a Cyberpunk 2.0 rework to make me want to play the game again.
Yeah.
But the difference is that like when I left Cyberpunk, I was like, if they reworked this would be cool. Leaving Starfield, I'm like, they have to rework this for it to even reach the stage that Cyberpunk launched at.
Yeah.
What a shit show.
Yeah, I think once I'm done with the video, I'm gonna uninstall the game, and that's just gonna be it.
That's gonna be it. Because once Starfield's done, it's like I don't have to have any of these games installed anymore, and I'll be able to. I'll put all of the footage on a hard drive, and it'll sit on the hard drive next to my Elder Scrolls collection of footage. Just sit on the shelf and never fucking again. My next Quick retrospective is going to be about a game that I like. More of my small projects are going to be about things that I like.
Yeah. I've been considering with City Skylines 2 coming out, maybe I would just do a video on that. Just something. I look forward to being free of Bethesda games. I really don't, as much as I could do a Fallout 4 video, I just don't have the fucking
making the Fallout 76 video, especially the response to it, kind of just affirmed that, like, because I said I want to do Fallout 3 in New Vegas in one video, and the response to it, it's like, I don't want to deal with these people. The Fallout fandom is genuinely one of the worst fandoms in existence, and we're slamming people that are modern Bethesda fans together with people who are Xbox fans and never fucking got over the fact that their mom didn't buy them a PlayStation. You're a grown man. You have kids. You can buy a PlayStation 5. You fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyways, you're slamming together like some of the worst communities in gaming. And it's like, because I mean, like I'm done with Elder Scrolls, and they have a chill community. So it's like, what's left?
Yeah.
Fallout? Fuck that. New Vegas isn't so good that I want to do it. Like in the context of wanting to do the Fallout 3 and New Vegas thing. So I guess when I need money, I'll make a video. But like considering I'm operating in the realm of like I get to pick the topics, it's like, no, I'm done with Bethesda with Starfield. And that was always the plan.
Yeah.
And the only reason it got dragged out an additional year is because they delayed the game.
They delayed it. Yeah.
If they had hit their original release date, like, you know, I would already have moved on. So
yeah, this is it.
It's almost over.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I look forward to being done with Skyrim, honestly.
Yeah, I think you signed up for something you didn't know you were signing up for with Skyrim. hate to break it to you. Your eternal
my standards had changed.
Your eternal project optimism.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's like Skyrim Video 1 was good. And that was that after Mass Effect 2?
Mass Effect 3.
You did Skyrim Part 1 after Mass Effect 3? Because I feel like that Mass Effect 2 is the video where you started to come into your element. So I feel like at that point you should have known.
Yeah.
But I digress. I just think you're optimistic. I just think you're optimistic about what you can do with your projects. And you're like, yeah, I can totally do Skyrim and Starfield at the same time. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Good luck, though. I'd love to see you disprove me.
I knew it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be rough, but no, I think one of the issues is that I fundamentally don't understand how much time I actually have in a month.
Yeah.
I was listening to somebody talking about, like, he's like a professional streamer or whatever. He's just like, yeah, I do like X amount of hours a week, X amount of days a week, and it comes out to about 200 hours a month. I'm like, wait, hold on one sec. All of that only comes out to 200 a month, and then I started doing the math. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean, time is like the most valuable kind of asset that people have. I just think that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just think that Bethesda's cooked. Some of these reviewers are like, come on, it's good because people can sink hundreds of hours into it, and it's like people can sink hundreds of hours into fucking fentanyl.
That's
like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good argument. I feel like we should be valuing quality time rather than quantity time.
Yes. Honestly, I appreciate games that respect my time, and it's like, you know what? We know that there's only like 30 hours worth of like really good stuff that's going to come out of this game, so that's what we're going to give you. I don't like games that pretend like it has all this shit going on when it's just.
And I've never liked making my own fun.
That's. I can see the exploration in Starfield, and this is gonna be one of the qualifiers I have to put in. It's like, if you like games that are just chore lists, like Ubisoft games where you're just going off, checking off things on a list, and you're probably watching videos on a second monitor or something. Yeah, you could get into the rhythm with Starfield's exploration of just like land on a planet, scan a bunch of shit, mine some rocks, complete a quest, clear a couple dungeons, and then go on to the next one and do the same thing over again.
Starfield makes a good YouTube game. I don't think any
of
the
too many NPCs that want to talk to you.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Bethesda games are good YouTube games by nature.
I've had a lot of people say that they love to watch videos while they're playing all sorts of Bethesda games. So,
maybe it's because
honestly,
I'm not engage with it at such a low critical level that you're able to watch a video in the background. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm going to make a commitment like this, I want it to be 100% of my brain.
Yeah. That's why I cut my stream short when I was doing the launch night thing. I just wanted to see like the turnout that I would get for it, just to gauge like interest in me covering the game in general. And that turnout was surprising, very, very good. But I realized I wasn't absorbing like any information, and I was trying to split my attention way too much. So I just called it after that. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to do any streams for this game because I just want to focus on the game itself and really analyze.
Yeah, that was my mentality. It was like we do the first impression stream. I get the word out on like where I would price point Starfield, and then that's it. That's my civic duty done. Which again, it's ironic that I was beating million sub review channels and views with the fucking live stream.
Yeah, a live stream that you announced like the night before. But
and announced the night before is a maybe with no declaration of what time it would be. So like basically just turning on OBS.
people are clamoring, certain Bethesda doubters, I guess we can call them, or skeptics. We're waiting on certain outlets, you being one of them.
Yeah.
To
For
see
sure,
what you would
because I've been
say.
telling the truth about the game for a while, and I have a track record of covering games that
Yeah.
are Cyberpunk and Elden Ring. Cyberpunk had a lot of hysteria, and Elden Ring had a lot of hype, and I worked through cut through both of those to make videos that I think hold up today. And so that's my aim with Starfield. But I mean, the video is going to be out by the time that this therapy session comes out. So I think let's wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah.